What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am so excited you are here. We're gonna learn together. This is the Tarver Academy Summer Professional Development. We're gonna learn. Learning's happening. It's going down today. We're about to get started. My name is Tyler. I run Tarver Academy. It's an online resource for teachers and students and educators, and it's a great community where people just get involved and learn and get better. And I throw resources to you guys, throw ideas around. It's just a lot of fun. Just a whole lot of fun, Tarver Academy. So if you need anything, I'm here. TarverAcademy.com has a ton of resources and things that you can go to check out. A little bit about me, just so you know, you don't think I'm just like, hey, here's a random YouTuber talking about, videos or whatever. My name's Tyler. I started out teaching high school math, and then I moved into a tech director / facilitator role. Then I was a principal of a school, 6th through 12th grade. 6th through 12th grade. Fun ages. That's good stuff, okay? Good stuff. Never any drama, 6th through 12th grade. No drama. And our school had waivers from the state, so we did a lot of online, we did a lot of blended, we did a lot of in-person learning, all the above. So we get to learn a lot, make some mistakes, do some stuff right, and try to learn from everything we did. Then after that, I went to central office, and I was director of curriculum instruction, and now I'm the dean of NLC College. And I'm so excited to be here, learning and growing with you guys. I'm also giving a little bit of time for people to jump in, get started, and we're about to go through some of the housekeeping stuff. We're gonna do a little check-in right now at the beginning, and then at the end of this video, at the end of this training, we're going to have a chance for you to get a certificate showing that you actually showed up and you did the learning, okay? I think that this training and the other trainings that you are gonna get the chance to be a part of this summer are gonna help you grow as an educator. And if you grow as an educator, all it does is help the students and the community that you live in. And so let's try our best to learn something, take something away from this that we can put in our repertoire and get better with. Okay, so the first thing I need you guys to do is I need us to check in, okay? And this check-in, what it does is it timestamps when you are here so that you might not need this later, but if your administrator or whoever comes back and they're like, how do I know you didn't just click to the end? This shows that you were here at the beginning. So you can scan the QR code that is on the screen if you have your cell phone. And on my phone with me, get your phone out. I'll use my wallet, Atlanta Braves wallet. Film that, you just hold your phone over that QR code that you see on the screen. You'll see something pop up at the top. Click that and it'll take you to where you can fill out that you were here. It's very short, very quick. I'm gonna give you a little bit of time to do that right now. Go ahead, scan the QR code, go to the website, check in, and when you do that, you will get an email. If you do not get an email immediately, this happened, I told you, I was a tech director for a long time, okay? I'd say a long time. I was a tech director long enough to know that if you don't get that email that you're filling out right now, it's because you typed your email address in wrong. That's exactly what happens. 19 times out of 19 and a half times, that's what happens. So go ahead and go to that. Remember, at the end of this session, there's gonna be another QR code that you're gonna scan that is going to give you the certification saying that you actually did the training. Both of these are time-stamped. So if your administrator or whoever's in charge of PD for your district wants to see that and be like, how do I know you did this? You've got your check-in email that is time-stamped by me, not by you. It's into a PDF or it's into that email. And then you will also have the timestamp on your certificate showing that you did this. Okay, so hopefully everybody is getting that done. Okay, giving you a little bit of time. If you have any trouble, just keep trying because I think it's pretty important to get that logged in. Now, while we're doing that, if you're finishing that up, or if you can hear me, what I would love for you to do is I would love for you to hit the red subscribe button. This is my YouTube channel, Tarver Academy. That's what I call it. It's kind of where I got this started. I had this before I had the website, and then I put up the website to put all the resources and all the stuff I was doing. But if you would hit the red subscribe button right now, that would be huge. That would be just super cool of you. And that way, you can hopefully see some of the other trainings that I'm doing, see some videos I do throughout the year to help teachers, to help students, to have fun and learn together. So hit that red subscribe button. Did you do it? Did you? You get the like too, the little thumbs up. That's just YouTube etiquette. You hit the thumbs up. It's just really nice to do. So you want to hit the thumbs up button, you can. And I would love to start this. How about this? in the chat, okay? Because if you're watching this on my website, which is where you can watch it, that's fine. You're not gonna see the chat, but if you click and watch this on YouTube, you're gonna see a chat rolling on the side of the screen. Start it off. I want you guys in the chat to say who you are, like give your name, tell us what you teach and where you teach, okay? If you're an administrator, you can say that I'm a principal, or you can say your central office, whatever you do. I've got some people that have signed up for this that are aspiring educators. So this is great to say, I wanna be an educator, I wanna be an English teacher for high school, throw that in there. If you wanna be a kindergarten teacher, toss that in there, say you're in school. It's a great way to network, because I think there is an amazing community of educators here wanting to learn and grow together. And I think that it's great if we look out for each other. So throw in the chat, I want you to say your name, what you teach, and where you teach. Throw that in the chat. All right, man, we're doing good. We're doing good. It's our warm up. We're feeling good. We're stretching it out. It's always good to stretch before you stretch. I don't know, I heard some friends say that, so I say it from time to time. Okay, next thing. This is another little thing. I've got one right here. So I've written a couple books. I've done Superheroes Need Sleep Too. This is a children's book. It's like a nap time book, so you don't have to read that. But this one I think is super relevant for you. This is the Baller Teacher Playbook, and in it I have like practical advice. It's 18 chapters. So the idea is that you could do this like once a week with your team for a full semester, or every other week for a year, and try to improve your teaching every week. I'm not doing this to sell it to you. I'm doing this to say I'm giving some of these away all summer to people that are participating in this. So if you want a chance to win one of these, or I think I probably got some other educator books. If you're like, I don't really want your book, Tyler, I got a ton of educator books. I'll send them to you. All you got to do, follow me on Instagram at Tyler Tarver. Follow me at Tyler Tarver on Instagram, and I'm gonna be giving these out throughout the summer. You might be the person I give it to. So follow me on Instagram, and then throw something in your Instagram story if you want, just to increase your chances of me seeing it. So I'm just gonna be clicking through. I see people follow on Instagram. I'm gonna throw out stuff to them. So random people will get it. You might not, but you won't if you don't. So there we go. Y'all feeling good? Does everybody feel good? Everybody throw in the chat who they are, where they teach, what they teach. Okay, so to explain also what this is, you are watching, this is a live broadcast. So this is going as a YouTube premiere or a full-on live video. So one of the two. Either way, that chat is happening live. Everybody that jumps into this video at any point is gonna be watching it at the same time as you. So it's great to get in the chat and talk, discuss, ask questions, give input. If we ask a question in the video, you can type it in your notes, but you can also type it in the chat. You can copy paste from the chat. It's a great way for you to be a part of this live broadcast, okay? So if you have a Google Notes, if you have a notes document, if you wanna take notes by hand, I've got a template for notes if you want. It sent it to you whenever you filled out your email. It should have been on that page whenever you did your check-in at the beginning. If not, it's on like every PD page. I have my website, tarveracademy.com. Click on PD and you get a free notes template, or you can take notes in your own doc. However you want to do it, take notes, write down stuff that's relevant to you, and copy paste stuff that people put in the chat. There's gonna be people in the chat that are way smarter than me. And so I'd love for you to copy paste that into the notes, and you can take that and make your teaching game elevate. So next thing, while we're getting logged in, people are still jumping in here. They're still jumping in the video, giving you a few minutes to do that. We're also, if you want to watch these videos, because after this ends, it's going to be gone off of here. However, I'm going to be putting all of these trainings, all like 30 something trainings. I think it's over like 120 hours worth of trainings. I'm putting all of that for people that join what I call the Tarver Academy Honor Roll. It's a small group of educators who are trying to get better every week, and I send out weekly emails during the school year to where you're getting templates, you're getting resources, back to school starter kits, you're getting templates for Google Forms, trainings, PDs, tons of stuff every single week delivered to your inbox, and also you have access to all of these trainings. That is available if you go to tarveracademy.com/honor roll if you want to. I think it's a great decision. I think it's a great decision. Nobody's in here. Who am I talking to? I'm not talking to anybody. Okay, y'all feel good? Y'all ready to start? Y'all feel good? This is a little warm up. We'll explain what's going on. Everybody feel good? 1 to 10. Put in the chat how you feel today. Or give me this, how about this? Give me an emoji of how you're feeling today. That'd be better, 1 to 10, or give me an emoji. I'd love to see it. Or just give me a word. You're like, I don't want to do an emoji. Give me a word. How you feeling today? And let's get rolling. Remember, input in the chat, take notes, learn, grow. Welcome to the best professional development that you're gonna do. Not guaranteed, but it's an opinion, but it's also true, but it might be biased, but it's gonna be a great summer. It's gonna be a great training. Hope you guys learn something. Hope this adds you value that you can then bring to your students and make your school, your community, yourself better in some way. Guys, we're about to get started. Y'all excited? Y'all ready? About to do this. Let's get ready to learn and have fun. Tarver Academy. Let's go. Let's go. Hit it. Let's go. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am so excited you're joining us for today's session. This is titled Transitioning Out of the Classroom. Now, if you jumped in here and you're like, okay, you think it's one thing, I want to explain it to you. That way, if it's not what you're looking for, you have time to bounce and you're not wasting a lot of your time. The idea for these talks, these conversations that we're about to listen to, it is not like, okay, well, let's trick your boss into hiring you. This is some thoughts from some of the best administrators I know on some tips for how we as educators, if you're a teacher or maybe a facilitator, or you're in the classroom more frequently and you want to transition to a role where you are a facilitator or an assistant principal or central office staff, directors, superintendents. Some tips on that, how you can transition from where you are and get to a role to where you can impact even more people. I'm going to give you some thoughts I've got before we get rolling and to hear of all the thoughts of all my friends and probably my thoughts too as well. I've got to throw some thoughts. Why not? It's my sessions. I guess I can do whatever I want, right? Okay, sorry. To give you some thoughts on this from this perspective, there is so much I did not know when I was a teacher. When I was teaching in the classroom, I legit thought that my principal, all he did was I knew he did stuff, but I thought the majority of what he did was stand in the hallway between classes. And then whenever, the class starts and everybody's in the classroom, he would just sit in his office and wait on emails. Oh, how wrong I was. And I really didn't understand what went into that job, went into that role until I started getting into those roles. And you learn so much. And my friend, he was talking about it. He was a coach and a teacher, and he was talking about just why did this principal make the decision? Why did they react like this? And I just told him, I was like, hey man, here's the deal. I wouldn't judge too harshly the people in roles that you have not been in until you get in those roles, because you don't know the context for what they're dealing with or why they're making certain decisions. And I think it's a good idea to hear some of their thoughts and experiences, and also just kind of hear their advice on what you can do to best put yourself in a position to be prepared as best you can for that role and the grind of some of those responsibilities. And so to give you a background on kind of what I have experienced, you're not like, oh wow, this 11th grader looks like he's running for student council vice president, is going to tell me how to be a superintendent. Well, I can tell you how to get to that role, and I can tell you how you can be successful in that role. Now, granted, I have not been a legitimate superintendent, I'm a superintendent. So, I went from teacher, and then I moved into administration. I was a tech director / tech facilitator for a school. So I was in charge of the budget for technology and overseeing, teachers and learning tech, because we were just now integrating technology into that district. Then I interviewed and got a job as a principal, 6th through 12th grade. We had a lot of technology in our school. We had some waivers, so we get the chance to try some stuff outside of the norm, but then we also had, your traditional in-person classes. So that's where, talk about being a principal, that is a grind. You're a principal, but you're also kind of like a firefighter. You're putting out fires all day and you're handling situations. I think one of the things that helped me, build on was the ability to problem solve and to find efficient ways to solve things. I didn't have an assistant principal, so I had to handle all of those issues myself. Curriculum, discipline, overseeing, ALPs, teacher licensure, hiring, firing, all that stuff kind of fell on me in that role. And so I got the chance to kind of be thrown into the deep end, if you will. It felt more actually like I got dropped out of a helicopter into the ocean is what it felt like. But I got the chance to learn a lot about that role and then work with educators, beside me at different, principal positions, assistant principal positions, administrator positions across the district. Because once you get on that team, you're a team, ideally. You're a team, and I just got the chance to serve with some incredible administrators and learn a ton from them. And hopefully I maybe gave them one or two things that they could use and learn from as well. And so after that, we had an opening at our central office. So I moved into the role of Director of Curriculum Instruction, Communication, Technology, and Personnel. And so I got the chance to bring some of my technology skills into that role. And then also I have some experience. I've consulted with companies on like marketing and building brands and all of that. And so I get the chance to try to do that for our district. We had a huge school choice number in our district. Like I think we were like second or third in the state at the time with regards to the percentage of our students who were school choice. That means they chose to come to our school. They didn't live in the district, they chose to be there. And so it's super important for us to market that. And so in that role, that Director of Curriculum Instruction role, that is essentially the role of like an assistant superintendent, but I didn't have the title of assistant superintendent. However, I do have a specialist degree, and so I'm actually like I've passed the test and I am licensed to be a superintendent. And so I'm not saying that to be like, oh, will you hire me? I'm not saying that. I'm just giving you some context for as I talk about administration. I've gotten the opportunity to serve in a ton of roles. I was in charge of hiring. I was in charge of all these things at our district that pertain to what this whole training is about. And that's how do I move from the role I'm in now to where I move into a role of leadership. I want to take on more so that I can help impact even more young people. And that's the thing a lot of people ask, like, why would I move into administration? Why would I move up? I can be right in front of the kids and I can help them. And I love that. I love that. And if that's your heart and that's what you want to do forever, that's incredible. And you can make a huge difference in the lives of a lot of people. My mom, she's actually in the next room talking to my kids. And she is doing that. She's been a teacher her whole life and she's been incredible at it. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. So don't think that as we talk through a lot of these things. But the way I view it personally is I got the chance to impact, 100 to 150 students a year, and then, with different clubs and stuff, maybe about 250, depending on what I'm sponsoring. I got to impact them as an educator and try to help guide them in their life and in their academic journey. And when you move up in education, as far as like your responsibilities and your roles, you get the chance to like work with teachers who then work with students. And so it's like the higher you move up, the more students under that pyramid that you get the chance to impact with your decisions. For better or worse, a lot of responsibility comes with that. And so it just means you get to impact even more. And that's one of the things I love about getting the chance to do trainings like this or work with schools or, do all the things I get to do with, TikTok and YouTube and these trainings. I get the chance to have just a small impact, hopefully, on other educators around the world. It's like I get to scale up, and I just love getting the chance to help and encourage and inspire and just, equip and empower as many educators as I can. And that's why I'm drawn to this stuff like this, these remote trainings, because it's like I go and work with schools in person. I get the chance to help, 30 or 40 or 50 teachers. But then I get the chance to do this, and there's no limit to how many teachers could watch these conversations with some of my friends to where they can, get the skills and, equipped. They're so well equipped that they can move into the roles and be as successful as possible. So that's kind of the overview of this. And honestly, we're going to talk about a lot, but I want to make sure that you hear this at the beginning. One of the things that if I'm talking to you and I'm just like, and it's an elevator pitch. We're riding up an elevator together and you ask me, what do I need to do to move into a role of administration? What I would recommend to you is, yes, as an administrator, you have to be good at everything, but to really just even get your foot in the door, I feel like you need to focus on an area that is valuable for administrators. For me, that was using video and technology in the classroom, and that was my niche. This is the reason I got the chance to move in at, I think, a fairly young age into administration. And we're in those team meetings. I couldn't, as a first or second year principal, I couldn't just say, with my decades of experience as a principal, this is what we should do. Where I came in and I was able to add value to that team was when I was like, hey, what if we incorporate this video? Or what if we give the teachers this iPad so that they can teach using technology? And find that lane that you feel like you have a unique skill set or you're uniquely passionate, or both is the best. And lean into that and do your best to build that experience and the skill sets there, and you can add that into your team. Okay, so it'd be a really long elevator. I talked way too long, but that's my one tip if I'm throwing that out at the beginning. But you're going to get the chance to hear from a ton of amazing educators in this. And this is a mixture of like interviews. I feel like interviews is a good way because you can really, get the authentic side of a conversation. And so a lot of these are interview style. So hopefully you take some notes and you get some golden nuggets out of this. Golden nuggets, what we call like little tidbits that you can actually apply. And so I want to kind of give you the rundown of what it's going to look like. And that way, hopefully you're still early enough in this. So if you want to bounce, you can. But I'm going to start off with an interview with my friend, Dr. Joe McClung. We chatted at a conference, and he's my age. We ended up going to college together. We didn't hang out a ton, played intramurals against each other. We knew each other, but then we reconnected in education as, we both were administrators, pretty young administrators, if you look at the average age of admin, especially in Arkansas. And he is now actually moving to a role of assistant superintendent. He's been a principal, assistant sup now, and he's just an incredible educator. And we actually filmed this before he got that role. He was a principal at the time. And so I just wanted you to hear from him. After that, I'm going to give you like I've got a couple quick tip videos. I'm going to throw them in. I'm not going to tell you where they are. You got a hint now because I just mentioned it. But talking about different hiring stuff. And then I got the chance I hosted a conference a couple years ago and at a school, and I had my good friend, he's assistant superintendent, his name's Bruce Orr. He's a fantastic dude, one of the best administrators I've ever met. And him and I chatted and answered questions from some teachers, and I wanted you to hear that conversation and kind of hear his perspective and my perspective based on these questions that these educators were asking about transitioning out of the classroom and into administration. After that, we're going to roll in, and I got the chance, and if you've seen any of my trainings, one of my good friends, Leanne Pinkerton. She's got a ton of knowledge, experience, and skills. Her and I worked closely together when I was, at central office, and we collaborated on a lot of things with, the Department of Ed and things we did inside the school district. And then when I moved out of that role into my current role, she took my spot she changed the title. I had that long title. She's Director of Academic Affairs. And so her and I are talking about that transition. And then I thought I'd end it on kind of a light note. Wanted to kind of let us, it's like a lazy river at this point where we kind of chill and just chat through stuff. In the process of moving out of the classroom and into administration or into a facilitator role, you're going to have to probably interview. And so I have a podcast with my good friend Neil Greathouse called Explain Everything Podcast. If you want to check it out on wherever podcasts are sold, they're free. But if you want to check that out, you could go in there. You can go watch that. It's at the very end. And we explain interviews is what it's called. We have our podcast called Explain Everything. And so every episode, we explain something different. And this episode, we sat down and we explained interviews and the interview process and gave our tips on interviews. And so we thought we'd end with that. I hope you like that and get something out of it. And maybe through this, you might not be interviewing next week. Your interview for this role might be coming in a year or 2 years or 10 years from now. But hopefully you can start putting the pieces in place so that you can have the best chance, that many years from now to where you are prepared for that role. It's not like, oh, I woke up and I want this role tomorrow. It's like you start now to build towards what you want in the future. Okay, now I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to start kicking into some of these interviews and conversations I had with these wonderful administrators. So here we go. Transitioning out of the classroom with Tarver Academy. Let's go. So Joe's a principal, he's a Google trainer, and so I thought it would be really cool to take this opportunity to just kind of have a conversation with you about being a younger administrator. That was kind of the topic, and I didn't tell Joe, I didn't ask him, hey, do you want to talk about this? I just said, hey, you want to do a podcast? He said, sure. So I set up the camera on my backpack, and here we are. So one of the things in education that you see is you don't see a ton of people that are younger getting opportunities in administration, and I think it's because a lot of times, and I say this, I think it's people want to hire people that they're familiar with, people that have been around. Experience is important, but also it can be limiting in education. What are some things you've seen where I say we're not like 21-year-olds, like we just got out of college, but
I am.
We're like, you're 21?
Yeah, you
look great for 21, very mature.
It's like Benjamin Button.
Button, you're going backwards. I'm actually 84 years old. Got 8 years left. Good CGI, Brad Pitt.
Right.
So I got into administration when I was like 26, 27. You got in there young too.
That's about when I got in. I was 4.5 years in the classroom, so I graduated in December.
Yep.
And so I taught for 4.5 years, and then I got into administration.
Yep.
So
5 for me.
So then I was AP for 6 years.
Assistant principal for 6
Yeah.
years. So what did you see as like, well, first off, because I found it hard for me to even get interviews just because people would see that I didn't like have 20 years in the classroom.
Right.
And then also like
it's tough, and what I think a lot of it boils down to is people, I don't know, like the administration, like the upper administration, sometimes feel like it's a risk. Because it's kind of an unknown type thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, they want to have people that they're familiar with, people that they know that they can trust. But if you're just kind of fresh out the gate, they're like, yeah, you don't have enough experience, you don't have enough classroom experience. The first superintendent I worked with in Fayetteville, she really put it well to me because she encouraged me to apply for more jobs. My first year as an assistant principal, she encouraged me the second year to apply as a principal for a job.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of questioned her a little bit. I'm like, are you sure you want me to do that? And then she said her personal experience was she was appointed principal after just 5 years and skipped the assistant principal. So she kind of opened my eyes a little bit to you don't have to necessarily fit into a certain pathway to get to that point. It's nice if you can fit into that pathway and make it work for your career.
Makes it easier.
But you just kind of have to find the right people that are going to be open-minded enough and progressive enough to kind of think outside the box and see beyond just your years of experience. So.
Yeah, that's what I got lucky because I had the superintendent that interviewed me because I couldn't even, like I was applying to a lot of places for like assistant principal jobs, all this other stuff. I was calling in, I was doing all the steps they tell you to get an advantage, and I just wasn't getting anywhere with it. And then there was a superintendent at a district, it's like a medium-sized district for Arkansas, and he was just very forward-thinking, and I guess age was not a barrier for him because a lot of people it's a barrier. It's like, no, you're not 30 years old, I'm not even going to interview you for this. And I interviewed for it, and I had done enough stuff with like outside, like YouTube, social media, blogging, all that stuff that helped in mine. So that acted as experience, even though it's not directly related to like education. Like, I've never made a blog for a high school. But like I still have made stuff that you can apply to it. And he was just smart, like I say smart enough, like I think he made the right decision. But he was just like forward thinking enough and I guess humble enough. Because I think a lot of them like, I don't know, just feel like they wouldn't take that risk, and then from there they got me in the door.
And that too, and like also too, you have to make sure that like, because when you and I've had this conversation before about younger administrators have different tools they bring to the table than people that have been doing it for quite a long time, and something that always sticks out in my mind because the technology component of stuff that I'm able to do, I think is a big selling point, but you also got to make sure it's not seen as a gimmick, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not like you're putting on a show, like, look what I can do,
Or just that, or even just like, oh, he's just one-way street type thing. Like,
only
you can only do tech, or
Yeah.
like, I have a tech coach who can do that. Like, I don't need,
Yeah.
I need somebody that actually knows the financial components, the building components and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I think one of the, like, what I've always thought, if you're bringing in somebody younger as an administrator or leadership role, it's like what people are afraid of is like, well, they have no experience. Well, you have a lot of experience and you're going to be working with them. And that's the thing. Like, so if you can find a young person who has a skill that you maybe don't have, or is bringing something to the table like technology, or a way to like, make things easier with regards to procedures or whatever it is, or a point of view that they can bring to the table that's valid or helpful, I think that as long as they're also teachable, because if you get some young person in that's like, oh, I'm going to be an assistant principal, I know everything to do, I took my classes, master's classes, I'm great in my class. Like, if you come in, I think at any age, and you're like, I got this, I don't need any help, then they're going to be a problem. But if they don't have experience, which again, you can't get experience unless you get hired for something to get experience. And so it's like, if they don't get that experience, or don't have that experience, but they're teachable, you can use like, because what I did is like, if I hit a role, like when I was a principal and I was like, I've never hit this situation, it's not really in the handbook, it's not laid out, I would call another principal, or I would call up my assistant superintendent, and I'd be like, hey, here's what I've got, what do you recommend? And I think that as long as you have somebody that's willing to do that and willing to learn through, because they've got the experience, just tell them, this is what I did.
And then the other thing too is like getting the experience is, it can seem like a big hurdle, but it doesn't always have to be. So somebody that really stood out to me was, I had a former assistant superintendent, Dr. Stephen Weber, and he helped me get more experience because I was doing my coursework, and he could just give me like the blanket, just go do this X, Y, and Z and check the boxes on it. But he actually gave me some responsibility and made me like the lead on district initiatives. And so just as the assistant principal at a junior high, he gave me some valuable experience that I could then take, and then I could attach that onto my resume, or I could say I could speak more eloquently on curriculum, which I didn't know a whole lot about curriculum until working with him on specific
because you would
initiatives.
have to. Like, why would you need to cover all curriculum for a building when you're teaching one class?
Exactly, and especially as an AP too, because as assistant principal, because your role, if you're trying to make that jump to principal, and it's a huge jump because I mean you're doing all the grunt work as assistant principal.
Oh, yeah.
Like
You're being told what to do versus having to be the one that initiates
and
it,
it's
right?
not glamorous. I mean, you work your tail off, but it's not glamorous by any means. But making that jump is hard too because you have to know a lot of items.
We're in the middle of a session. Sounds like it's going to be close to the end of our podcast.
Yeah, sounds like it. Should we
cover? Finish the jump, and then I got
more.
Okay, you're talking about the jump from AP to principal.
Yeah, it's tough, but you got to get people to buy into you too, because what I've seen too, just my first year as a principal, is that you got to be much more with the big picture in mind.
Yeah.
I find myself working hard, but I don't work hard in the same way I used to. Like the past 6 years as an assistant principal, like I work hard in trying to, I don't know, kind of just put the larger picture together.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different mindset, totally different mentality. But
and you're having to consider multiple groups. Like when you're in charge of one, like you're sponsoring one, like student council, or you have a team, or you have your class, like your whole priority is just what you oversee.
Right.
When you oversee everything, when someone comes in and say, hey, can I get iPads for my classroom? You're not just thinking, oh, that'd be good for that class. You're thinking, what are the ramifications for this class, or somebody else would want it, or how am I going to afford it because that budget's going to come from this group. It's like you have so much more, and it's crazy. And what I always tell people is, be careful how you judge people in other roles until you've served in those roles.
Absolutely.
Like as a teacher, I thought, oh, my principal just walks out and stands in the hallway and then sits on his computer waiting for emails. Like that's his job. Yeah. And then when I became a principal, I was like, oh wow, he did so much that I didn't know. Why would he tell me, hey, this is what I went and worked on? He didn't give me his agenda.
It's easy to armchair quarterback it, and I've been guilty of that.
Me too.
A lot of times.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I'm just judging
do it
your
this
role.
way. Do it this way.
Just kidding.
But yeah, it's easy to do that. But until you actually experience it, like you don't really know what you're up against. That's why like any exposure, any connection that you can make is huge for making that jump, even to assistant principal.
Yep.
If you want to know more about it, then get involved with somebody in some facet and get your hands dirty with it, because otherwise you can't. And this is the big thing I tell students who are first going into teaching, because like at the university up in Fayetteville, they always have to do an exit interview with an administrator. The MAT students do, and one thing they always ask is, what would be something that help me? What's the interview skill I can have? And I tell them every time, it doesn't matter if you're applying for a teacher or administrator or whatever, but if you can speak specifically on experiences. Anybody can come out and talk theory. Anybody can come out and talk the pedagogy, but you have to be able to speak well on your experiences, because that's what people want to know.
This is how I've really handled it, not how I think I'll handle it.
Yeah.
It's like that pressure
exposure
situation.
And you just need the exposure, because that's what people want to hear.
Yep, they definitely do. And it's cool because you don't have to say like, here are 30 times that I've had that experience. It's like, here are 2 times, because that's going to be close or reminiscent of what you'll do in the future, I think. Because I think people are pretty similar in how they respond to stuff. I mean, obviously you can get more, the more reps you have, the better you can get about it, or the more comfortable you can feel with it. But for the most part, people's like brain process, which, I think you always think people are like, oh, they process thoughts and reactions the same way I do, but then you see it and you're like, oh, I know they don't.
Oh, no.
They're a psychopath. Just kidding.
but seriously, they are.
Yeah, but seriously, they're crazy. So last question, because they're about to start doing something in here, then they're going to start yelling at us. What would be your advice to someone that is an educator that wants to get into administration? Like, you just gave some advice, so it's get those experiences.
Yeah.
What else would you say?
That's the biggest one, is the exposure. So find some way that you can plug yourself in, or if you're a teacher in a building, find a way that you can take on a leadership role with your administrator.
The stuff everybody avoids.
Exactly.
You take it.
And then also too, I mean, because like I said, the theory and the pedagogy, like those are givens. I feel like a lot of times when you go to that interview, but when you can speak well on the experience, that's when you have your, I don't know, you're putting your best foot forward.
Yeah. No, that's great. I like it. Yeah, what I would probably say to him is, do stuff, even like do everything you can for your building and do it well, because you will be evaluated on that. That's like an interview before the interview.
Yeah.
But then also grab stuff that doesn't have to go through the system of a school. And so I do a ton of stuff, through YouTube. I'll do stuff on social media, all this stuff. It gives me skills and abilities, and I'm learning experiences that are not directly related to education. Well, I mean, putting up math videos is pretty closely related to education, but you're doing all that on the side. People know that you can apply that to their building, or you can give them value from those skills. And so I definitely tell people, do more outside of it. And also, you don't have to run through as many hurdles. Like, it's not like I have to run this through my administrator. It's like, you might tell them, hey, I'm creating a YouTube channel. Like, you have a problem with that? But if you're just doing it on your own outside of school, like most of the time you can do and create at your own
that
pace.
too, and just like stretching yourself as well.
Yeah.
So like it's very easy just to get settled into a role, and I've worked with people like this where superintendents, like their number one thing is they know how to manage building projects.
Yep.
And that's gotten them really far in their career. And I can very easily just settle into being the technology guy.
Yep.
But I know that I need to press myself further by looking at curriculum.
Or always just be the tech guy.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that is our cue. Joe, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you if they want to find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at JK McClung.
JK
Pretty much
McClung.
anything JK McClung.
When are you changing that? To DR JK McClung.
Ooh, good question.
We need to make that happen, man. Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Tyler here with Tarver Academy. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tyler. And today, we're talking about experience versus skill. Let's hit him with the intro first. Thank you for joining me for Tuesdays with Tyler, where we talk about different topics in education, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm gonna give you mine, but I care more about yours because I know what I know. I don't know what you know. So leave in the comments, DM me, whatever. If you have any new questions you want to address or bring up, DM me at Tyler Tarver on Instagram, and we'll talk about it. So today I want to talk about experience versus skills. Okay, so whenever we're hiring for districts, or we want to hire a new teacher, or we're looking at any type of position for students to serve or lead, one of the things that always comes up is, well, do we look at the people that have been here the longest, that have the experience in our district or have been teaching longer, or do we look at people maybe up and comers, maybe they're a little younger, but they have a lot of skills that can be developed? There are a lot of things that play into this, so I don't think there's one correct answer because it's like a scale, okay? That's the thing you gotta remember. It is a scale. It is not this versus this. It's like a coordinate plane, and you wanna find somebody in that sweet spot of experience and or skill sets. So if you have someone really skilled, but they have no experience with your district, your culture, the experience of, like, say they're a teacher and they're a really great teacher, but then they're gonna be a principal, they don't have the experience of going through different seasons of education or the people that they're around. So it plays a part in it. Now, if they're teachable and you have someone that does have experience that can be their mentor or working beside them as an assistant principal, if you can combine those and that person's willing to listen, the sky's the limit, because you have that skill set and you can learn quick and you make good decisions. Because if you make good decisions, you're gonna make good decisions in those leadership roles. However, I do not think just because you've been around a long time, you should be promoted. That's the problem a lot of districts have, is they're like, well, so-and-so's been here for 20 years, so it's their turn. It doesn't matter. You want someone there who's gonna bring something to that position that's gonna make it better. I was in one of my doctoral classes, and my professor, he helps a lot with hiring stuff, and he was talking about school districts. They're like, oh, we want somebody that's gonna be here for 20 years. And so they want to pick somebody who's been in the district, that has the experience, that's just going to put in a lot of years. Well, you don't want somebody to put in a lot of years if they're not going to be very good at that job. You want somebody, I would rather have somebody, even if they're only going to be there 3 to 5 years, if they're going to elevate your school or take you to the next step or move you forward as an organization, then that's far more valuable than somebody who's going to sit there for 20 or 30 years and not really accomplish or move you forward at all. So I think it's a scale of both. You want somebody who has the experience to make good decisions or is willing to listen to people who have experience and take that into consideration. But I personally think that skill sets is going to far outweigh that, because there is no replacement for a great employee, like a great leader, a great person who can take your organization to the next level. So it's both, but if I'm gonna pick and it's just I'm looking at those as blankets, I'm gonna definitely say skills. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear, and why? And why? And don't just say, well, because I've been around a long time and I want to get promoted. No. What have you done in that time? If you've been around a long time, you better have done a lot of things. So those are my thoughts. Hope to hear your thoughts. So tell me, Tuesdays with Tyler, if you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram at Tyler Tarver. Subscribe, because, I mean, why not? Why not? Just do it. Thank you. Oh, that's where that's from. I'm just kidding.
All right, this is coming up. This is the session from my conference I hosted with my friend, Assistant Superintendent Bruce Orr. We're talking about transitioning out of the classroom, and he is He's going to give his thoughts. I'm going to give my thoughts, and we answer a lot of questions, people in the room. So if you have answers to these questions, if you're an administrator, throw that in the chat. Or if you have thoughts on these, throw that in the chat. Here we go. Bruce, let's go.
Even when I started teaching, which was a while ago, but really not that long ago when you really think about it. So now principals are having to evolve into instructional leaders. That's something big that I work with all our principals on is, you're the instructional leader of your building. I think that's very important. So, this is a tech conference. We're talking a lot about what they expect from you technology-wise. Guys, there's a good chance your principal may not know a lot about technology. Okay, and that's where I think that probably the best thing you can do is hold those conversations, just like you just asked me. Ask them what what are your expectations. They may be learning from you as they're coming into the classroom. Like that's really where I learned the most about curriculum and good teaching practices. I didn't just dream it up myself. It's like when I got to Lakeside, there were some really good teachers. I went in their classroom and saw things they were doing, and that's what kind of made me a resource, because I was getting to go into all those classrooms and see all that, so I could say, well, why don't you try this? Because I'm watching this. This works really good, and this in a nutshell, I guess, is what I think most principals want. They want to see kids engaged, and I know some people, they want to, some I think still like the rows and everything to be neat and it not piling out into the hall. But I think more and more are getting past that and seeing that, as long as learning is taking place, kids are engaged. That's one of the number one things I look for when I go into the classroom. Are kids engaged? Or are they tuned out? They can be on their devices and they can be engaged on their device, or they can be tuned out. When it comes to technology, probably one of the things that you have to start with, or really anything, is like your procedures and how you set your classroom up. A lot's changed, I think, about teaching in the last 20 years. But that's one thing that has not changed, and I don't anticipate it changing. If you don't have a good setup and procedure plan going in, you're not going to be very effective. And with technology, that's what I'll see sometimes is like if we give a teacher like a Chrome card or something like that, and they're coming up with 2 or 3 missing every day, or somebody stealing the letter L off all the Chromebooks and stuff like that. What is it about that?
I don't know. I think they have a collection. They're selling them on eBay.
What do you get for that? What do you get for an L just randomly?
Well, I think it's like $1, $1.50, but if you steal enough, you can sell it back to the school. Like, the school's like, oh, we just need an L. Oh, there's this person selling it on Craigslist. If you get sell it back to you.
Why would anybody steal L?
I don't know. It's a good LOL.
But I'll tell you this. There's some that like some rooms where that problem's going on all the time, and then there's some that aren't at all. So that as an administrator, you kind of see that. And that goes back when you really go in there and you say, well, they had a plan. They had like kids were assigned a certain computer. They checked it before the kid got it. They checked it when they were coming back in. A plan for facilitating that, because that's something that gets frustrating if you do designate a certain portion of your budget for that technology. You make a big investment, and then you're having to spend money on stuff like that shouldn't be happening. Or when you get an email that goes out that that say, hey, we're missing like 6 laptops. Can anybody help track them down? And you're like, we need to do a little better there. So that's the first thing, is kind of be organized, have a good plan, work on teaching, I think, those digital citizenship skills to your kids all the way down. I think that's something that's just really lacking with our kids right now. When I'm looking at the whole picture, and now that's my job, I look at K-12, and I see where kids are they're missing a lot of life because they're on this, and so we want to use it in the classroom, but we also, everything's a balance. So I think just going to your building principal and asking them, I think that's a great question to ask them. That would not offend me a bit if Linda came to me and said, what do you want to see? Because I should be able to answer that. So, go ask them, and don't be afraid to maybe show them stuff, because if you're that teacher in your building who's kind of setting the curve and doing that, the more you get the principal in your room, they're going to understand more about it, and they're probably going to be more apt to see the benefit of it and then try to spread it throughout everybody else. And if everybody's doing those good things with kids, that's when we really start winning. Because sometimes when they have a pocket, if they go through 2 or 3 bad experiences, like second through fourth period's not that great, fifth period's great. Well, it's hard for that fifth period teacher that's really doing good stuff to kind of get them focused back into what's going on. So the more that we can spread that just benefits everybody.
Yeah. I like what Bruce was saying, that whenever you're looking at the teachers And it's not about, like, whenever we go and evaluate, we're walking into classrooms, we're looking at teachers using technology or just any type of strategies or skills or tools. Whenever I go in there, I don't yeah, I'm evaluating, like, okay, this teacher's comfort level with technology. And I know most of them because, I've known several of those teachers for a year. I've worked with them, helped them, answered their emails and their questions. But when I go in to see how they utilize that in front of the kids, like, I can see, like, okay, this person doesn't feel comfortable with this. Which, here's the deal. A lot of people think that, like, oh, like, teachers will come to me, they're like, I'm so done with technology, I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, no, like, the fact that you're asking me how to improve or how to learn or how to extend that, that's all I want. Like, I don't care about the characteristic where you don't know. I care about the characteristic where you're willing to learn.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing with me.
Being reflective, guys, that's huge. You can, and know this, when your principal's going in there, they're not really thinking, I don't think they think about an evaluation like a teacher thinks about it. It's not about the grade to them, or it shouldn't be. It's about the score. It's about, like, how can I get in there and help you to be a better teacher? And I think if we could both look at that role, that's what, when Tess came out, it's been like 4 years ago or something now, 4 or 5.
Yeah, 4.
That's what I repeated over and over to our teachers is if this just becomes another way about the evaluation, and if everybody goes and compares and everything like that, well, then this has been a big flop. I mean, we've spent all this time training and redoing for really no reason. The whole purpose of tests, which, Charlotte Danielson, that was her work. She wanted it when she built that rubric, it was to help teachers become better teachers. It was never intended to be an evaluation tool, but we've kind of made it that way. Yeah. So don't focus on what your end score is, because they're still changing that. They just changed that in the legislature this last year. Yeah, because it didn't make sense. But focus on what's in there and how I can become a better teacher. And really, when you come, just like a kid, think about it when a kid comes to you about something and they ask, what can I do to get to be better in your class? How do you feel towards that kid?
I love it.
You love it.
Yeah.
You love it. Here's a kid that wants to get better. You'll go to the ends of the earth for them. So that dynamic works the same way with a teacher to an administrator. I think if they come and say, hey, come in, watch this. I'm having trouble with this third period class. I got these 4 kids that are just driving me crazy. Come in and see if you can help. See if you can tell me what's going on. And if it's an open relationship like that, I think it's great. A lot of these guys that are sitting at these tables from Lakeside, they will come and tell me things that they don't think we're doing a good job of. And a lot of people are real afraid of that. But how am I going to grow if I don't know the kind of what the pulse is or what people view as a problem, and then I have to internalize that and see if that's something that I can change, or I need to explain to them, say, well, here's why we do that. So just keeping those lines of communication open instead of just getting frustrated. That's what I see happen so much of the time. They don't talk. The two sides don't talk, and there's frustration builds up, and then it's like we're working against each other. And guys, the climate of education in Arkansas right now, we've only gotten a 1% bump from the state the last 2 years. And this last legislative session, we've talked to our staff a lot about this. They made a hard push for letting the money go to private and charter schools outside of the system. And guys, when that bow breaks, public ed, we're in trouble. When we start losing those type of funds, and they were talking about if people are homeschooled, giving them a voucher that they can use towards college, think about it. Where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from public education. That's the only place it can come from. So we've got to really unite. We've got to be on the same page. And I think when people hear us arguing amongst ourselves, whether it's, we're down on the coaches or we're down on the principals or the principals are down on the teachers or our parents or whatever, when we're being negative, we're putting out that vibe. And right now, we don't need to be putting out the vibe. We need to be putting out things that are working. We need to tell our own story. We need to tell those things that are working, and we need to try to figure out more things that are working.
That's good. I preach.
Preach it.
That's preach. That's
preach
good.
it.
Okay, so one of the questions they submitted, which I think is a good one, and it's not for everybody, but it is good to hear too, because, even if you don't want to move up at that district or move up to a different level of education or change or transition, they asked, what do you look for when hiring new administrators? You want to start?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I know that with us, like we have a group. Is there anybody from Boxside in here? Hey, you're about to be. Hey, or you are now.
Yeah.
Congratulations on Boxside. Hey, Miss Glover, what's up? I didn't see you there. Hey. Okay, so we have a few teachers in our district that have their administrative degrees. So whenever we have an assistant principal opening or a principal opening, something like that, a lot of them, they like the district because they're still there. So obviously they like the culture of our district and what we're all about. And so, but they didn't probably spend all that time and money to not get an administration. I know one person I've ever met that got an admin degree just to get the bump and then he's like, is Mark Smith. You know Mark Smith? He was just like, he looked at the numbers, he goes, I can make more over this many years, I'll go ahead and get this. And so he just got that master's because he saw the pay increase, because he's a smart dude. But most people get that so they can use it. Whenever we have an opening and people apply, a lot of times people in-house will apply for admin positions. I said earlier about a student teacher, that's it's a 1 semester interview. Whenever you want to go from teacher to administrator, that's your whole career at that school interview. So any interaction you've had with teachers, how you work with teachers, how you handle criticism, because believe it or not, administrators get criticized quite a bit by teachers. Yeah, I know, right? I read that on a Post-it once. And so whenever you're in there, how you interact with people is huge for if you want to move into that role within your own district. Now, if it's like we're doing interviews, obviously you're trying to base it off of like a shorter experience time. But whenever you come in, the fact that you can work with people, you can adjust. Like you said, there's a lot of people that it's been a manager position with principals. Like there was a time when I was principal, I was like, okay, I got all this, like this, and this to do. I'll go in, I'll start at 7:30, and I'll do this. When I was a teacher, I thought my principal, I saw him in the halls between classes, I thought during school class time, he just chilled in his office and I don't know, surf the internet. I was like, what can he be doing? He's not teaching kids, so there's nothing else to do. How many kids were he in trouble? I send 2 kids a year. Well, that's not the norm. And it's okay to send more if they act up. But whenever you get in that role, you can have a plan for your day. You're like, okay, I'm going to go do this, this, and this. You walk in, and it's a true story. I walked into my office one day at 7:30, and I had a shirt sitting on a chair, and I'll bleep it out because it's rude. It said, roll that S word, smoke that S word, pass that S word. And then it had a pot leaf, just in case you're wondering what we're smoking. Had a pot leaf on it. Kid thought that would be a good idea after he just got off a 3-day out-of-school suspension for saying inappropriate things to students. He thought it'd be smart to wear that to school on the bus. So we had a discussion about it, and that took up the next 3 hours of my day. And so therefore, all those things I had planned to do didn't happen. So the fact that you can adjust and modify and adapt to things being thrown at you, that's huge for being an administrator, and that's something I look at whenever we're hiring administrators. So,
that's very good. A couple things on top of that is your work ethic. I mean, guys, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of time to be a good teacher. Really, it takes a lot of time to be good at anything.
That's true.
But like in a building principal role, you're probably going to have duties at night. Schools, I think, are becoming increasingly more, not just athletic events. You got bands, you got choir, you got awards, banquets. There's all kinds of groups trying to expand out. Like in the last few years, we've added a real strong film program at Lakeside. Well, they have several night events, and all those kind of get added. And especially in my role, I feel really bad if I'm not supporting all the kids. So having somebody who is willing to make that sacrifice of you're gonna have to miss some time with your family. That's when you choose that job, that's what you're going into. And I've done better. These guys can probably attest to that. I've done better the last probably 6 years of my career than I did the first end of it. Knowing that, feeling like the place can run without me being there, but you still got to put in a ton of time. So your work ethic, and again, I can't emphasize enough how much we look at academically, where can they go and where can they take us. I feel like there's a lot of people now who can do the management part of school, or who can try to do it as well as anybody else. Because it's hard to manage that many adults, that many kids, that many parents who all have different agendas. But that's not as hard to find somebody who can do those type of things as it is somebody who's like a next step vision person. I want, and like when we hire administrators, I really want to hire people that I feel like are smarter than I am, because I don't want. You know, a lot of people will say that. Hey, I'll just come in and I'll learn from you. I'll do that. Well, I get that, and I don't mind helping some there. But like, I want some people that'll come in that I can learn from. I want to surround myself with people who have some big ideas, who I can grow from too, because that's important in my spot that I stay growing. That's why, you know, I met Tyler a year ago at a conference, and you know how, you know, Tyler's his personality and his knowledge are just really high. I'm just bragging on you.
Very sweet. Right here. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I was like, I want to get to know this guy. You know, he's got a skill set that I think I could really grow from. So, I mean, I reached out, and we go back and forth every now and then and trade ideas.
That's been good. Yeah, every time, especially hiring season, we've been bouncing each other off, or bouncing each other. That doesn't make sense. Bouncing stuff off each other, like throwing texts, like, do you know anybody that could be good for this? And then also just because his network of people he knows, like in Hot Springs, the network of people I know in Slee County, it's good because we're pretty close. So, you know, if we're looking for somebody or you're wanting somebody to move to a different role, it's been good to throw stuff off each other. So
that's another. I'm gonna add that one to the list too. Is networking. You know, when you get somebody who's really networked into a different area than you are, that's big. Because one of the most important things you will do as an administrator is hire good people.
Boom, that's correct.
I mean, really, theoretically, if you like never missed a hire, you probably wouldn't get to play Facebook. You wouldn't get to do the Facebook thing every day. But I always feel like there's always room, you know, to grow there. So hiring's big, and being able to read people, because like I said, you get about 45 minutes with them in a room sometimes. And a lot of these guys have been on hiring committees with me, and sometimes we have a pretty good time with that. I mean, I must admit. But you know, it's a very small window that you really get to see what somebody's going to bring to the table. And you know, do we always get it right? No. You know, I don't think anybody does. It's just like, you know, do we always do everything right in the classroom? No. I mean, I could tell 3 hours of stories of things I messed up in the classroom. But
I've got documentation on them.
Online. All right, what's the next question?
Okay. Real quick, we move. I mean, that's correct. And I say that all the time. The most important thing that administrators do, they got to manage, they got to move the school forward, they got vision, all this leadership. The most important thing they do is hire people. Because who's the most important person in the district? It's the teachers, hands down. And so what we have to do is we have to, sorry, I'm getting emotional. Whenever we hire them, those people are probably going to outlast us. Like, those are people that you're going to hire that are going to influence, like, could influence 30 years worth of kids at your district. Like, whenever, like, we sit there and we have teachers, we're like we don't have teachers, we have all great teachers. But, like, say that we had a teacher, and we're just like, who sat in an interview and said, that's our guy, let's get him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you sit and you see somebody like, we're dealing with problems for people that someone else hired 15 years ago. And so whenever you're in there as administrator, you want to get somebody that's going to take your school and help your students and make things better. And you're potentially thinking, not just for me, but for like years, like decades down the road. That's how important it is. Like, there's a lot of times, we had a position this last year, we had a coach, he got an administrative job. He was a teacher and a coach, and he got an admin job, and it was like in the late summer. We were like, we threw it out there. We didn't get an applicant. We were like, this is the one, and we didn't want to hire okay. We wanted to hire good, like very good at minimum. And so we said, let's figure it out for a year, and then we can open it up early and hire somebody and get somebody who could be in there for 30 years. Instead of just somebody okay that we might get stuck with. You know what I mean? And so it's extremely important when you hire. So here's a good question. Why, I had it up. I think we've got some more since rolled up. Where, I had been rambling. I know the question. It was, whenever you're like a good teacher or you do a good job, why do administrators keep piling more on you? And it seems like the people that like are kind of negative or are not good at their job, they kind of get an easier load.
That's a good question. Yeah. This is a phrase. This is a phrase that we learned in principal school. You know, no good deed shall ever go unpunished. Right? You know, think about it like this, guys. If you've got your own kid, okay, and you've got and this happens a lot. Say you've got these two teachers, and everybody knows this one's great, and everybody knows this one is average or possibly even below average. Okay. Because we're teachers, but we also have kids, right? And you know, through your kids going through school, not everybody is created equal, are they? Let's just be honest. They're not. So you get to pick which person your kid gets to go into to have the best experience. Are you thinking, because it's your kid, are you thinking, it's not fair that, that teacher's at, like 145, 148 kids, and this one's down here at 100. I want my kid to have that teacher just because that's fair. Would anybody do that?
No.
So a lot of times, in administratively, and I hate it, I really do. And I will say this: I try to not do things I don't ask other people to do. Like, I try to take on a big amount of work because I know that I ask people to do a large amount of work also. But if you got a job that you really want done, and guys, this is kids' lives we're talking about. This is people working with programs that's going to impact kids positive or negatively for the rest of their life. Then, yeah, the people that do are probably going to get rewarded with more to do. But I'll say this, good people, I think, gravitate towards more work anyway. Most of them, a lot of them, that's why they got into it. They want to help kids. They want to do it.
They don't want to eat out.
If hopefully in a perfect world is, the principal is working with the staff members that aren't really doing as well, and they're either helping them to get better or helping them to find another career.
Yeah.
That's
Get them better, get them going.
yeah. That's the reality of it right there, because it's not fair. I do feel bad about that sometimes when I look around, and some of the people I'm talking about are sitting in this room because they're doers. They're sitting here in their summer. They don't have to be here. They're here at a conference outside of their contract because they want to be better. They want to be better. They want to help other teachers. They want to help kids. It really is kind of a bad thing. I don't know what to tell you other than that's kind of the way it is. And I think your administrators look at that probably the same way I do. They want to do the best they can by kids. And sometimes that does mean that good people get kind of loaded up on. Yeah.
And I always think back too when I was teaching, whenever, like, say you needed something, say like, oh, I left something in my car, hey, can you take my keys and go? Like, it's always the same, like, one or two kids, right? Because you trust those one or two kids. Like, you're not gonna say, oh, little Johnny, he stabs people in the hallway. Here, take my keys and go in my car. He's gonna plant cocaine. That's what Johnny does. And so whenever you trust certain kids to do things, you give them certain responsibilities. Same thing with the stuff that administrators give. They give people that they trust are going to handle it. Like, I know there's certain people that I could give responsibilities to that I'm going to have to follow up on. I'm going to have to end up doing it. It's going to cause me work than if I just done it myself instead of letting them do it. And there's other people I can hand it to. I don't have to worry about it until they turn it into me or they complete it. And I want to give the stuff so that I can have the time to do other things that I have to do. So that's one thing I look at.
That's a good question.
That was a good question. Here's another one, and this kind of rolls. I think these can be related. What advice do you have for ambitious teachers?
Ambitious teachers, like who want to move on from the classroom, or who just want to be like the best they can.
Yes.
Which one?
Both.
Oh, it's both. Okay. Let's start with just, because we should all try to be, and even as administrators, I think it's very important to stay student based. To kind of, to keep sharpening your saw. When I was building principal, my last, I think, 2 years that I was in there, I had an 8-12 building at the time, and we had this group of 8th graders like every year. And it's a transition year at our place, 7th to 8th. That was transition years are always difficult. You're wondering what planet they came from, and everybody's going, hey, did they not do anything with them in the middle school? They don't know anything.
It's called middle school Wonderland Daycare.
We all know that, right? But so anyway, we're having this group. They're just parentally struggling. I'm spending a lot of time during the year with them on discipline. At the end of the year, they hadn't passed anything. They're just doing nothing. So I got my assistant principals, and we started teaching our summer school because I wanted to know what it was like to work with those kids. And I needed a relationship with them. That was something I did not have with that group of kids. They would look at me, and when I tell them something, they weren't scared of me. These are kids that, they're at home at night. They're probably not eating. They've probably got a really bad home situation. Who knows what all was going on in their lives. I'll tell you, I found out what was going on in their lives when we worked with them in the summer. We used to do a little project called Soundtrack of Their Life, where they got to take songs and build the soundtrack of their life. And then they would write an essay, and they would tell us about it. And guys, I'm telling you, my perception of those kids changed in an afternoon. I went from not liking them very much at all to just I just cried. The stories that they would tell. And from that point on, some of them never became academic scholars or all-stars. You know, I didn't spend a lot of time giving out awards to them at the academic banquet or anything, but they got where they were very manageable in class. We knew them better, so we were able to get them in better electives that better matched up with their strengths. And I think that's important, you know, so I completely forgot the original question. It was about what they can do better as teachers. Okay. So growing yourself. I wanted to stay growing as a principal. Do things like that when you're in the classroom. Go, you know, when I was talking about a while ago about where I learned more about good teaching than anything is when I was an assistant principal. Like my first year I had no earthly idea, you know, how to really help somebody become a better teacher, but I learned over time going to good teachers' classrooms. So I would say that if you really want to impress your principal, and I think that's what the title of this is called, isn't it? Impress your admin. Go to other teachers' classrooms and watch them do what they do. You'll pick up some good stuff, you may pick up some bad stuff, but you'll learn a lot about what's going on there. So always trying to sharpen your saw and improve. As far as getting into admin, you know, one thing I did when I was at Lake Hamilton, when I was trying to get into admin there, I mean, I don't know if this is a good story because they didn't hire me, so it obviously didn't work, but I think it helped me in the long run. Was I used to tell them, like I wanted to do anything they would let me do administratively. Like at that time we were having a bunch of bomb threats, and I would help them check lockers, which that was very stupid looking back at it that I was doing that. I mean, but maybe they knew that. I was just stupid. I was just dumb enough.
They're standing back and they're like, "You're doing a great job."
Yeah. They're over there. But I would do that. I got to the point where when one of the principals were gone, they would let me. I would get out of class for the day and I would go down there and I would get to be in the office. I would help them out at ball game duty. I was always picking their brain. I was always asking them, why are we doing this? Why do you do what you do? So I like that. I like when people come to me and ask questions. Why are you doing what you do? What's the purpose of this? How can we do it better? I like that. So, you know, I think just trying to volunteer and things like that, trying to get more experiences. The more experiences you can put under your belt they're just going to help you grow.
Yeah. Plus, it'll also expand your universe of empathy for what other people have going. Like I said, I used to think my principal was just like chilled in his office and then walked out between classes. Like, that's an easy job. You only do 5 minutes of work every 45 minutes. And that's the thing too with teachers. Like Bruce said, like whenever I was in my classroom, I was at a high school level. So we met once a week for PLCs, but I didn't really know what was going on in their class. Like high school, like they stay in their lane. You know what I mean? Like you know what's going on in your class. And I always, before I became administrator, I always assumed like every other teacher is just like me. They're just like in a different class. Like they act like me, they handle things like me. That's just kind of how they are. We have different personalities, but all do the same things the same way. After you get to admin, you realize there's a wide variety of how teachers handle things in their classrooms. And I just like, you hear things, you're like, why would you do that? Like I would never even think to do that. Like I would think that was something either good that I should do, or sometimes like, wow, that's really good. I would never thought to do that. And so visiting their classes, getting different perspectives, and then taking on those other roles, like getting to do that, like you hear some teachers like complain all the time, like, oh, I've got to be on the ACSIP team. I'm doing all this, I don't do it. And then like, you're like, yeah, how hard can it be? You're just filling out things. Then you realize, oh, you have to have a scope of the entire building where your students are and where you want them to be, and you have to project that in fancy wording to the ADE. And then you got to follow up on your, okay, this is a lot more than I thought. And then you realize, oh wait, my principal has to do that for the building, and the district people do that for the district. Oh wow, and that's just one of their things. You know what I mean? Like when you open up your universe of what other people have going, it makes you a little more patient when you're like, well, my principal said we had a meeting today and they didn't show up to it. They got busy, and you're like realizing, oh, they had a kid walk in with the S word 3 times on a shirt. And so they couldn't meet with me because they have like a parent that rolled out of a drug-induced coma to come up there and talk to them about their kid because they gave them the shirt. So stuff like that, building more empathy.
I remember when I was assistant principal, you know, sometimes the principal would be back there, and now the principal I work for was Darren Beckwith. He's the Dawson Co-op director right now. And I remember sometimes I'd be out there and there'd be like 6 kids sitting out there, and it's like all hell breaking loose. And I'm like, what is he doing back there? I mean, I'm just out here like by myself. What's he doing? And then I got back in that office and I found out.
Yeah.
I found out exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was taking all the butt chewings for all the stuff that I was doing back there. So
that's fun. It's fun too when you point it out. Some people it clicks with, some people don't. Like one time I was in my office working, and somebody walked in and like, oh man, looks like you're real busy here. I was like, well, I don't have the time to stroll around and talk to me. I'm in here working. Well, you're the one walking around, bro. Calm down. I'm sorry. What's a good way for teachers to stand up for best practices? You know, I mean, like Dr. Lang said in there, like, you know, we don't have to like agree completely, but just the fact that we can have the conversation and hear perspectives, and then maybe that'll build our perspective or tighten our perspective of what we think. You know, if you disagree with some best practices, what are some good ways to stand up for best practices you see?
Man, you know, the most important thing is just what they said, stand up. You know, I think I see too often the time we'll sit back, and I don't need a show of hands for this, but I mean, how many of y'all, like when you're in your building, just think about this in your mind, and I know you don't always know what's going on in other rooms. So, but a lot of times we learn through having kids come through. And you've had a kid come through, and you know that there are some things going on in other classrooms that aren't very good. But we never say anything. It's been several years ago, I had a teacher that I was really working with to try to improve. Everybody in the building knew that they weren't a good teacher. I had my teachers coming to me saying, don't put my kid in her class. I don't care what you have to do, change up the whole master schedule, but I don't want my kid in her class. And then at the end, when they were leaving, because we had worked with them and they did not get any better, it's like everybody was sympathetic. Everybody was like, "Oh, poor so and so," you know, the old administration ran them out, and I'm like, "You asked not to put your kid in here, and you're out here talking about how mean we are? That's crazy." But it's that deal, and you know, sometimes it's good that we stand up for one another when we're right. It's good that we do that. But guys, remember, we got to stand up for kids. That's our number one job. Somebody's got to stand up for kids. And that's one of the hardest things about being an administrator is, you know, your number one job is supposed to be to take care of kids. You know, and you want to take care of your teachers, but you can't put somebody having a job over what's best for kids. You just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't put my head, things like that bother me. So, you know, sometimes just know this. If there's a situation going on in your district with maybe possibly a staff member that somebody's being asked to improve, just always remember, you don't know the whole story.
Because if they're a good admin, they're not telling the story because it's illegal.
Right.
They have to keep it confidential. So you're hearing the side of one, like whenever teachers talking to me, like they're doing this, and I was like, okay, and I know it's complete garbage what they're saying that they're hearing, but like you can't say it because if you're a good administrator, it's confidential. It's in a file folder in a locked cabinet inside of a locked door. That's the rule. 2 locks.
It's so hard.
It is hard not to say something.
It hurts when you think that your staff really feels that way about you. It really does. You're like, gosh, man, surely they know me better than that.
Yeah.
But then you realize, and you said something earlier that's very important too. Life is about perspective. You know, just like what I was saying, when I was assistant principal, I had this perspective. You know, I knew the things that went down for me there. When I became building principal, I had a whole different perspective because I saw one step up. And I used to, I've been guilty of it every step of the way. You know, I'd talk about central office. What are they doing down there? I never see them. They're never around. They're
eating pizza and getting coffee.
Then you get in central office and you get a different perspective. You see where a lot of their time goes. So, you know, just remember, everything in life's about perspective. And this is with anything, with kids, parents, anything. There's always 2 sides of the story.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and then there's the third, which is correct.
Exactly. There's always 2 sides. Yeah. 3.
Awesome. Okay, last one. It says, what is the best way to communicate with admin that are so busy and you don't want to bother them and put more on their plate? Good question.
What's the best way to get to you?
To me?
Yeah.
Email's not good because I get a lot of emails. And I have, I'll straight up call her out for it. Leanne, you know, if you saw me co-present with her, I really like Leanne. She's very impressive. She's awesome. We kind of go back and forth at each other. Like, it's usually jokingly, sometimes it gets serious, but most of the time we're cool about it because we have an understanding. But she is really good at email. Like, she's on her email, she's got 1 or 2. Like, me, I will answer every single email. I never read an email that has a question to me that I go, that's fine, they don't need an answer. Every single email I will answer. It may take me a week because if I'm doing this, it's hard for me to check emails. If I'm in a meeting, I try to be attentive to what's going on. It's hard to check emails. And sometimes at night, I'd like to see my kids occasionally. And then other times, I'm working on other stuff or preparing for something I have to do the next day. I could sit and check emails, but that presentation is going to look dumb the next day if I don't have it. So I have to work on that first. So, and now it's funny because I'm transitioning a lot of the roles that I have to Leanne for next year. And so I've started forwarding her the emails. She's not as good at her email now because she's getting some of the ones that I get. But that's the thing. I I think that communicating email is not good. I completely lost the question because I started
No, it's the
rambling
best
about
way to
email.
do it.
Me, text message is the best way, and even then, it might take me an hour or two to get my phone out. So text is good. If you're a coworker, I give mine at our back to school meetings. I give my phone number. I was surprised Lane gave it out because he's just coming in for an hour and he's leaving the state. But like I give my phone number out, personal cell phone out to all of our district employees because you need me, text me. Okay, that is the best way to get a hold of me.
And I will give your number out to everybody too.
That'd be great. If you have a problem with Lakeside,
Because you've got all this time in this new job.
Yeah, I'll be fine there. I've never been in that role, so my perspective is I'm chill, bro.
It's all good.
What do you need for office? A lazy boy recliner.
I don't know. I'm going to let McInville take that. What's the best way to get a hold of me, McInville?
I just told first, lay in wait.
Just sit in your office and wait?
Well, no. Our administrators have certain times where they're in the building, and I tend to adjust to those times if I have something I want to say. Also, sometimes I will email Mr. Orr, and then when he's in the building, he'll stick his head in my classroom, and we'll talk that way, and it works great. I just love the fact that he does that.
That question really is, I think, different for every administrator.
Yeah.
I've got 10 building administrators that work under me, and some are really good at taking care of things on email, and some are terrible. And I'll just tell you, it's something they really need to improve on. But it does kind of go back to your style, and as long as your style and everybody kind of understands in your building what you've got. Like when I started, I got there early in the morning, and everybody knew they could get me like at 6 o'clock in the morning. If they really had something they wanted to come talk about, I was there. They could get that 4 o'clock, whatever it was. I do try to. Emails work good to me because I use email as a to-do list.
Yeah,
but I actually need some in-service on that because like it does just eat up emails like this animal that just grows. Because the more that people figure out they can email you and you give them an answer,
oh my goodness,
you get more emails. It's kind of like the thing y'all were talking about a while ago about
Dude, that's my theory. I say dude, sorry, Mr. Orr. My theory on a job is if you're really good at your job and you're approachable, you'll have to change where you work every 5 years. Because after every year, as people figure out that you're the kind of person that handles stuff, like I always joke around and say my title is not director of this, and this, I'm director of problem solving. Whenever people have a problem, I'm not like rude or mean, I try to handle it, even if it's completely not in my area. So that means that people start going to you to do stuff. And then that builds as more people find out, hey, Tyler will try to get that done, or Tyler will give you a voice in this conversation, or at least Tyler will respond about this, and they'll start sending me more stuff. And it builds. And after 5 years, you have, I think I'm at like 160 in my email, and I cleared it out 3 days ago, checking everything. And so, and I've still been checking it every day. So I think, yeah, every 5 years, just change completely where you work. That's my rule. I've done it twice so far. Feels great.
I had kids this year, kids in class would email me and tell me about Mr. Orr, help, I'm in here with a crazy sub.
Yes.
Help me.
I get emails from students.
So I was like, they're emailing me, they're in trouble.
It's an attacker.
Running up the hill, I'm calling, get in there!
They're just bored and don't want to do it. That's awesome. Yeah, I get emails from students now too. Yes, ma'am.
Don't respond. That's email or text. I'm just asking.
That's a good question because like you said, I have principals
And you
that
don't
don't.
feel like it's something that you want to,
Yeah. Oh no, I get that.
I think a good way to redirect that is maybe to go to them and say, hey, I had a question. I emailed it to you. I don't know if you got it. You can play that old like I don't know. I know the system's been down.
Do not walk in and say I emailed you like a week ago and you haven't responded. That's not what they want to hear.
Yeah.
But if you say like that, give them an out. Like I know.
But really, you know what I was thinking about all these questions. Really, almost every question that you've had for us. Ask your admin that.
Yeah.
Have a real conversation with them. Just say, hey, what's the best way that I can get a hold of you? What do you prefer? Do you prefer, meet with you on the conference, email, text? What is it? What's the best way? I want to do what's best for you when I have a question. So maybe if you did that beforehand, maybe that would work. But I do know that some people, hey, principals, admins, just like teachers, some are better at certain things than others, and I do know that's a problem with a lot. They just get where I think they get behind, and then they just
the thought of catching up seems overwhelming.
They just give up on it.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly. Priorities have to go to the top. It's true.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Hey, it's Tyler here. I'm just gonna give you a little break. So if you need to go do something, you need to go use the restroom, get a snack, get something to eat, whatever, you can go do that. I was gonna chat with you about some stuff, give you some time to do that and check in, maybe say hi. If you want in the chat, let's do a little check-in. In the chat, how you feeling? Toss in your emoji of how you feeling right now. Let's do a little emoji checkup, if you will. So while you're doing that, I do want to give, you know what? I spent a lot of time writing this book, and I genuinely think this book is going to help you in your classroom. It's gonna inspire you more than anything. It's a read with me, and one of the things that I feel like I've never been the smartest dude in the room. I've never been, the most talented, but I'll say this, I was always been pretty approachable, I think. I've been approachable, and I think what this is, I've tried to be as relatable as possible. I'm talking about my experiences, things I've run into in the classroom, what I've learned as a teacher and as an administrator and as a student, what I learned. And so this is the Baller Teacher Playbook. If you're interested in checking this out, I recommend. Of course, I recommend. It's my book. It's not the best book on education, but I think it's good enough to help you in some way. It's got a lot of practical experience in it. I've got quotes. That's a do you boo boo. I could have picked a better chapter. Here's one thing. I want to show you one thing that I did at the end of each chapter, because I know teachers. Okay, I put in practical application. I put in reflection, because we know reflection is important, even though we never have time to do it. But it's got spots for you to write that in. So this is something you can work on by yourself or with your team. But here's the part that I did, and this is legit just for teachers. I don't know if you can see that. I put in, at the end of each chapter, I have a section called TLDR. That's internet talk for too long, didn't read. So what that means is, let's say you've got a team meeting, okay? Because there's 18 chapters in here. That means you and your team, or you and your building, you can go through a chapter once a week and meet on your planning period, spend 10 minutes talking about what you did, what you tried, what worked, what didn't work, stuff to help improve your class and improve your students. Every week you can do that. Have you ever done this? In the chat, be honest, you ready? Have you ever had a team meeting where you're supposed to read something and you're walking over to the meeting and you're like, oh no, I forgot to read the thing I'm supposed to read that we're gonna discuss for like 15 minutes. So you just try to chill and hopefully don't get called on or get called out for not reading it. At the end of each chapter, I have a section called TLDR, where in 2 to 5 bullet points, I summarize the chapter. So you could be walking to the meeting, you could read these 3 or 4 bullet points and be able to have a conversation about the entire chapter. There's stories in here, there's practical experience, there's ways that I messed up, ways that I failed, and then ways that I feel like I succeeded, and I'm just talking through what I learned from both of those. And I would love for you to learn and grow with me. So if you want to check out that book, it's on Amazon. I'll have the link on the screen if you want to get it. Link is in my bio. I link links everywhere to it. So Baller Teacher Playbook. I think it can help you in your classroom. Okay, we're about to get started. Kick back into it. Hopefully you're ready to roll, ready to go. And let's jump back in. Let's jump back in like Michael Phelps, okay? Well, does that work? Does that work? I mean, he jumps into the pool. That's what I was going for. I need to know more like high diver. High divers would have been better. I'll tell you this, we're gonna stick the landing like Carrie Strug. Y'all remember her? Carrie Strug, remember the Olympics? Georgia Olympics? Atlanta Olympics? Remember that? It's okay. It's a very narrow reference. All right, let's get started. Let's kick it off. Let's jump back in. Get your notes out. Get your screens pulled up. Get your coffee ready. Get your ice water. Your sweet tea. If you're from Arkansas like me, you know you like that sweet tea. And we're about to kick it off. Here we go. Let's get back in. Let's get back in. I'll see you guys.
What up? Tyler here at Tarver Academy, and I want to hit you with some quick tips on building your resume for whenever you want to get a job. My experience is mostly in education. I've done some freelance video and photo. I want to talk about education primarily, but I think you can apply this to any field. Whenever you are applying for a job, your resume does not need to be a piece of paper. Yes, you have to have a piece of paper, and you can make it as creative, as stacked with different links to information as you can. But your resume can be a video, it could be a website, it could be a list of links to different things you've done or been recognized for. Whenever you are, like right now, in the job you're doing now, you're doing great things. Are you talking about them? Are you putting them out into the world? Are you posting recaps of how-tos or anything onto the internet? A lot of people get discouraged when they put videos on YouTube and they get 30 views or 100 views. Don't be, because you never know what that video is going to be in the future. I've got a video on the internet. It's about slope intercept form. And when I put it up, it had like 20 views for, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, I don't know, and nobody got to it. But then SEO hit, search terms hit, people started searching and sharing and, you know, projecting it to their classes, and now it's got like 1.4 million. So you never know what video is going to take off. Most won't. That's just the nature of the internet. But you might have some that do, and when they do, yeah, it can be used to your advantage. So now, if I wanted to apply for a job and I wanted to be a math teacher, I could say, you know, I've got, you know, over 1,500 math videos on the internet, and several of them have, a majority of them have over 10 or 20,000 views, and some have up in the millions. So like, that's something that you could say, that's a great starter. Now, if you're like, well, what if I don't have that much? It doesn't matter. The fact that you're putting it out there, you're confident enough in what you're doing in your job, or in what you can do in your abilities, and what you've done in your classroom, that you've told people about it on the internet. That says a lot about how confident you are in what you're doing. And if you've got like a binder that you've made and it's just the perfect binder and it's stuff you've done in your class, but you haven't shared with anybody because you don't want to give away your resources or whatever reasoning you have, that you haven't shared it, beyond the fact that you're not showing others all the great stuff you're doing to get your name out there, also, that's saying something about how you collaborate with your peers. If you are interviewing for a teaching job, and I want you, as an administrator, I want you to be able to share your teaching methods, your classroom management methods, different resources you have, things you make. I want you to share that with other teachers, okay? I don't want you to hoard all that into your room and try to make yourself better and better and better every year. I do want that, but I prefer you made everybody else around you better. Think about NBA basketball. Like, what do they talk about with great players? Yeah, he's a good player, but he doesn't make his teammates better. Why is LeBron James considered the greatest player on the planet right now? Because he makes everyone around him better. Because he gets them involved, he passes, he develops. Like, he does more than just shoot the ball and try to get buckets, okay? He does that along with making everybody better. Be the LeBron James of teaching. Put the word out there about yourself. Make your blog, your YouTube channel, Twitter accounts, screenshots of tweets that you've done that you've incorporated into like education chats. Whatever you're doing on the internet related to education or your job, put that out there. That's how you catch the eye of someone whenever they are looking for people to interview. So also it helps if you know the person hiring, but that doesn't always happen. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. That'd be really great. And I hope you have a great day. Peace.
Okay, this next session, this is a session that my friend Leanne Pinkerton and I did on transitioning out of the classroom. We did this at a summit, and we talked about some things you can do to put yourself in the best position, mindsets and things that you can do to transition out of the classroom. Like this is all these trainings are about. But here's mine and Leanne's talk on that, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you can't see the screen in the video, that's okay. You don't really, we just like put quotes up. Really, it's about listening to what we're saying, trying to get something from our words. Okay, here we go, Leanne. Let's do it.
This session is like about how to, if you ever want to leave the classroom and do anything different at all, these are going to be tips on how to manage that. I'm excited about it. Apparently the rest of the world is not, because there's not a ton of people in here.
I think also, even if you don't transition to like facilitator, assistant principal, anything like that, I still think it's good to know the way, how you act and how it is perceived by your administrators, because you will still be evaluated either way. And so, anything you do or act or how you present yourself, that's going to play into, probably not the evaluation because it's not supposed to, but it'll play into different things throughout the process of your job. So,
You want to hold this?
yes, more than anything in the world. Thank you, Leanne.
You're welcome. Do we need to introduce ourselves?
No.
Okay. Leanne, he's Tyler. That's it. That's all you need to know. Oh, you changed it.
Well, yeah, I added one on each side because you had yours that looked really good. Like
Yeah.
you Googled,
Yeah, I just Googled and then picked person.
what your aunt puts on Facebook. Like that's it.
Yes,
So I went with
thanks. Appreciate that. All right. So work ethic is really important. And actually, I think that what I want to say about that is you have to work hard every day, work harder than everyone around you if you want to move out of the classroom. If you want to do something different, you've got to have a strong work ethic. So I think I think it's important. I know that's not a great presentation right there, but I didn't do them in like top 10 with this is the least important and then going down to the most important, because if I probably would have put this as number 1. Your work ethic has to be super strong if you want to move out of the room. classroom.
I completely agree, and I've seen, and it doesn't just mean like within your classroom. You know, you can, I think there's a lot of different ways people can see how hard you can work and what you can bring to the table whenever you're brought onto a team. I think like I can credit a majority of like whenever I've sat in an interview, yeah, I've had things that I've done throughout my job. I'm like, yeah, I've done this, this is my classroom, these are my test scores. I can say that, which kind of puts you in the realm with everybody else that worked hard within their classroom. I think what's always given me an edge with regards to sitting in an interview is the stuff I did outside of the classroom. So whenever I go home, you know, if I went and, you know, I'd film weddings or commercials, or I'd write on my website, or I wrote books or podcasts or whatever it was, all those things I did outside of it that weren't like directly about my job were still things that I had, like skill sets I had developed or built through my time while I was teaching that I could add into different roles. So like when I was teaching math at BB, like within the role of teaching math, there's a lot, you guys know, there's a lot you do within a classroom, but it's not like I was incorporating, you know, at the time YouTube was still very young, but I was putting those videos on YouTube, and that, and then writing my books and the podcast was more impressive to the people in the room, I think, from what I heard afterwards, than actually just teaching in my class, because they can't really see examples of you teaching in your class. But you know, that's if you're outside, if you're interviewing outside of the school district. But if you're within your own school district, obviously they've seen you teach, so they know what it looks like in your classroom. And then I threw this one in. It says complaining is easy, executing is hard. I think a lot of times it's easy to just say, well, like you go and you interview, you're like, oh, well, they didn't give it to me this time. Like, yeah, you can say that, but you can also back up the stuff you say in your interview. Like I can't tell you, like it happens. Like you'll interview people and you've seen them, you've heard their colleagues talk, you've heard them what their students say about how they teach, and they go and interview and then they say, well, I do this and I'm this and this, and we're thinking, I don't hear that. We don't hear that about you. Like you just don't. And now, not saying it's not true, or a portion of it's not true, because you don't want to believe everything other people say, but you want the things that people say about you to kind of correlate a little bit with what you say you do in an interview. And especially when you interview in district, you know, they already know a lot about you. And so you come in, and if you can say all the hard work you've done, all the things you've done, extending beyond what a normal is expected of you, I think that you can be a lot more successful. Sorry, they kind of trail off at the end.
No, I agree.
Thanks.
I think we can go to number 9.
I like that. Oh, we count down from 10 now? Do we have 10 things?
We do have 10 things.
Sweet, good job.
They're not in order though, in any kind of order whatsoever. It's just
Well, it's an acronym, so we'll put it together and we'll see what word it makes. So first we start with W. We'll put W and E. W-E-A. Ooh, this could be good.
Yeah.
Could be wear clothes. That's our tip. Wear clothes to work. That's
a good.
That is.
It's a good tip.
It is. Go ahead.
So attitude. I just think that we need a happy attitude. And here's the thing I'm wanting to get at is sometimes your attitude shouldn't, all the time, your attitude should not really have anything to do with your circumstances. People are generally, in my opinion, happy despite their circumstances, or they're unhappy despite their circumstances. And you know, if you just think about your colleagues, there's some people, it doesn't matter what's going on in their life, they have a good attitude about it, and there's people who just seem to be sour no matter what. And I was looking at my Facebook the other day, and it was a time hop from when I was still in the classroom, and we didn't have a lot of technology. So I had this like 19-inch TV that was hanging on the wall, and a VCR that was over here that wouldn't reach the TV at all. There was no way of connecting them. So I had to get a chair and then a huge stack of textbooks to be able to hook the VCR to the TV. And I did that, and I never even considered complaining about it. Like, I thought it was funny, I thought it was tacky, it looked horrible, but I wouldn't have complained about it for anything. And we've got technology that is beautiful now, and some people are just still grouchy about it. They're just grouchy about it. And I don't think that says anything about the technology. I think it just says something about your attitude. You're either happy or you're not, period. The end.
No, that's good. I think one of the things whenever you interview people, for any position, like you can teach people skill sets. Like everybody in here has a college degree. We can learn things, okay? There's like if you present somebody with something, some people it's going to be easier for, some people it's going to be harder for, but we can learn, we can develop, we can grow. You can't really teach somebody personality or attitude. You just can't. Like it's something they can work on over time. But have you guys ever noticed like those certain teachers that like everything bad always happens? So every time you talk to them,
ugh, this student did this. Ugh, can you believe they did this? Ugh, they changed rule 1B that's never going to affect me in this handbook, and now I'm upset about it. Like, they always find something that's going to bother them in every situation, and that's their perspective. And so I knew Leanne was going to nail that, which you did. Great job, Leanne.
Thanks.
But I wanted to throw around this one because I think we've all said this and we've seen this in students and teachers. Like, I don't know where the stat comes from. Could be completely made up, but they say you are like a median of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Like, whatever their like personality, attitude, how they. You good?
She just rejected us. That was your mom, and she rejected us.
Oh yeah, she good. She'll be fine. So she's gonna go guilt her.
Charlotte Tarver, you should be in here right now. You need to hear this.
It's fine. We'll stop. We'll wait.
I mean, she did look in, like she kind of wanted to come in.
You can come sit by me,
Come on.
Oh,
Entertaining.
We'll just wait here.
We didn't really want to walk in late. So
Talk amongst yourselves. No, you're doing great.
We're only on tip number 2.
And I'm not really transitioning out of the classroom either.
Yeah.
So. Hey, partner this morning.
Yes.
Hey, how are you doing? You doing good?
I'm good. How about you?
Oh, just lovely. Just lovely.
We were just talking about attitude and how you need to have a good attitude.
Any tips on attitude for educators? Nope. No, yep. You got any tips for attitude?
I'm with her. Have a great attitude. Yes. It's everything.
It really is. Yeah, it really is.
Carla should stand up here and do this with us. I mean, she's hired a lot of people. Yeah. I'm going to come in. It's a good session.
It was a good set. Then we just kind of quit doing it. Not because of you, it was because of Miss Tarver. She started it. Yeah. She rolled that ball down the hill and it just picked up a lot of steam.
Did you get blamed for everything? Did you get blamed for everything?
Everything, but you know what? I think I dropped it on his head.
Okay, here we go. So they say you're a median of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So here's what I recommend. If you get around some people and you notice you have some people around you that are just constantly negative, or they constantly have complaints or something that's wrong with everybody else, but they're absolutely perfect. What I would recommend: drop the bottom 2 or 3 people. Drop the bottom 2 or 3 people that you know are bringing you down, your median down. Go find 2 or 3 that you're like, man, I kind of wish I was like that teacher. Or wow, they always seem happy or positive. Start trying to be their friend. And then they might drop you because you're the negative one. But until then, seriously, if you want to, like, this is math. The average, if you're the median of the 5 people you spend the most time with, if you want to raise that, drop the bottom 2 or 3, pick 2 or 3 that are higher, and you'll move up. Seriously, think about what is that bad advice?
No,
Give me a face like it's terrible
well, I
advice.
didn't understand median that well, but I'm
Okay.
now. It's the first time I've ever understood median. Now I got it.
There you go.
Something like in the
We're
middle.
learning all kinds of things in here today, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we can move on. I have the clicker.
All right. Actually, I do think that on your slide there about stop hanging around people, I do think you can be influenced heavily by the people that you're around. And if you're around a bunch of whiners and complainers, even if you're not doing the whining and complaining yourself, you can still be perceived that way. So maybe it's your grade level team, and maybe you just need to not hang out with them. I'll tell you that I used to avoid the teacher's lounge occasionally because it could be a place where your attitude could come down. Not ever from Vaquero, who was also in the teacher's lounge. She was never complaining, but
We didn't eat in the teacher's lounge. We ate in your room.
I know, because I had to avoid the teacher's lounge.
There you go.
All right.
It's good, Leanne.
Thanks.
It's good.
Thanks. Social media matters. So we have been interviewing a lot lately, and we Facebook stalk every person that we're even halfway interested in. And sometimes what we see on their Facebook will keep them from getting an interview. And that might be sad, and you might not think that's fair, but that is the truth. So check your own social media. If there's pictures of you, I'm sure you've heard this, but if there's pictures of you with liquor in your hand, I will not interview you. That's just me though. If there are negative posts, if there are extreme political posts, I probably would not call you in because I don't need that. I mean, why? Why would I need that if I could get a normal person who's not, an extreme political person? Stop looking crazy, Matt Baxley. You know that that's true. All right. What were you going to say about it? I mean, we do like to go through their pictures.
That's just mad.
That's the way. That's just his face.
No, I completely agree. And you think like, oh, I have freedom. Yeah, you do have the freedom, and they have the freedom not to hire you.
Yes.
You have the freedom to say whatever you want.
Right.
And that's just one of the trade-offs with our position. We know that we're held to a higher standard when it comes to how we act.
And it's just, right or wrong, it's the way it is because we're in charge of children. And it's the same thing with, where our college is housed in a church, same thing with the pastors. They can't go out and say whatever they want about everything because it causes strife within their community and within, you see it all the time, news stories, because some teacher said, so not looking forward to another year at her school. She got fired for that. Like, that's a screenshot from a lady that taught in Massachusetts. And she just, you can tell in her face, she was really not excited about, she wasn't excited about that profile pic. She's like, really not excited about the profile pic this year. And she didn't get fired from Facebook, though. Almost, there was a trial. I'm just kidding. So, not looking forward to it. So, she got fired for that. How many people go on and say, oh, I got to go to work tomorrow? Or, people say it all the time. Why is it a news story? Well, because she was a teacher, and it had consequences. And so, it's just kind of the nature of the game that we're in.
And another thing, let's just say you're not interviewing right now, and you may not think it matters if you post something negative about your job or your district. People still remember that. And so you might decide 2 or 3 years down the road, okay, I'm going to apply now. And if that person that saw it is someone who could be on an interview committee, they might just say, they really gripe about their job a lot. And that hurts you down the road. Some of the people that we were Facebook stalking, we're not even their friends. So I would also say check your privacy settings.
Well, even then, nothing's private. It's not private. I don't care if you have it set to 8 people.
Yeah.
The screenshot works on everybody's phone.
Okay.
I whenever I was in administration, I got a lot of social media posts sent to me. I never checked Facebook, but I looked at a lot of Facebook screenshots because people would screenshot it, text it to me, or text it to somebody who would text it to me, or text it to 8 different people, and then end up sending it to me. And so we've seen them. It doesn't matter what your if you put it on the internet somewhere, no matter what privacy setting, it's somewhere. There it is. The stuff I put on Facebook as a junior in college, it's somewhere. Even though that page got deleted, whenever I transitioned over to a new one, it's somewhere. Literally, no, I don't know if you guys knew this, it's just a fun fact. As the Library of Congress, they have now archived every tweet that has ever gone out on Twitter. It's archived in the Library of Congress. So they started doing that several years ago, and it's a long list, but they've got every single one of them. So if you ever tweeted it and then deleted it, it can be repeated. That didn't work as well as I thought it would. In my head, it was going out. Worked out better. 2 out of 3. That's where that ended up. Next.
No.
Oh yeah, definitely not. We had more to say about social media.
I just want to say something about Doug Quinn that he said that I thought was really impressive to me. We were talking one time about those posts. They're like memes of teachers running out the door the last day of school. I think they're funny. Mr. Quinn may hire you someday, and he doesn't think they're funny. So just remember, there's different levels of formality. So Tyler might be way more lenient than me. I'm somewhere in the middle. Mr. Quinn might be a little more formal than me. So you can't go by your own level of formality and what you think is amusing. You really have to think about the most serious person and what they are going to think is amusing. I'm thinking Dr. Skelton probably wouldn't be amused either, or Mr. Collum wouldn't have been amused by that kind of thing. So there's different levels of what people think is funny.
Yeah, what I've heard, this is what I've done before. I don't do it very often because I think I'm fairly conservative about it. If you have a post that you're thinking you want to put out there, and you get that feeling should I post this? Mm-hmm. Number one, probably not. Mm-hmm. If you get that feeling at all, then that's going to give a percentage of people who look at it that feeling. That's a chunk of people that are going to see it and think that. So if you have that feeling at all, I recommend not. But if you're but I feel this urge, I feel like the world needs to see what I have to say about this, everybody needs to know, I'm going to get 25 likes. So what you should do, screenshot it and send it to your most conservative friend and say, hey, should I post this? See what they say. If it doesn't ring any bells with them, maybe you're just being a little subconscious, or it could be that you shouldn't post it.
Good stuff.
Thank you. And you mentioned it earlier, and this is not related to social media, it's just also because we're doing a presentation, I don't want to say it. The meme about teachers ready to leave. Here's the thing, I don't want to work with somebody who's ready for the weekend. Well, you don't like your job? I want somebody who's excited to come in and do the job that they're getting paid to do. That's my personal opinion. And if you don't like the job, I tell people, go get a different job. There are a lot of jobs out there. If you don't look forward to Monday, if you're waiting for 2 out of your 7 days of the week, you're wanting, 5/7 of your life to go away quickly. I don't want to do that. That's just my personal opinion, but that's in my head. I just said it out loud. So if you're a person that's always said, ready for Friday, ready for Saturday, well, then that's fine. I just judge you a little bit. Just don't say it to me. Say it to other people. Well, that's why you can cut me out of your friend group. Remember we talked about 5 friends? Cut me out.
Go ahead, Leanne.
Okay, relationships. So we actually have a presentation on relationships and how important we think they are, about building relationships with your students. That presentation is later and probably in the same room. But this is not just about your students, it's also about your coworkers, because a lot of times your references, no, you are fine. Your references are not your only references. So, for example, let's just say you work with someone and you've applied for a job at Boxside, and I don't know you and I don't know your references, but I do know somebody who works in your building where you currently are. I'm going to text them, not whoever you've listed as your references, your formal references. So how you treat people in your job matters. And not only that, it matters how you treat kids, because sometimes, like let's just say a Sheridan person applied for a job now, I got a kid at Sheridan High School, I would say, is this person nice or whatever to Kristen, and she might say, yes, he's great, she works hard or whatever, or she might say, no, he's a bum and he burps in class. And in that case, I'm probably sorry about saying burp, but
It's okay, it's unacceptable, but go ahead.
I'm probably not going to want them in my district if they think that's amusing. So it matters how you treat everybody, really.
And I want to, what she's saying about references, you're going to give, every time you, like if you apply for a job within district, out of district, whatever it is, you're going to put 4 references. I don't think I've ever called one of the references someone's told me to, because especially if it says friend or whoever it is, or coworker, it's the person you stand next to that likes you, like I'm probably not gonna call them unless it was like a coach. Like there were some couple co-teaching situations in Little Rock where they taught together. I was like, it'd be valuable to hear what that person says because they've seen them teach in the classroom. Because I can walk outside my door and tell my neighbor, man, I killed it, I'm great, blah blah blah. Like they didn't stand in my class, they don't know how I was. What I do, I'm gonna put that right there. This is what I do every time whenever I'm calling on people to get references. I call their building that they work at, and I talk to the secretary, and I say, hey, may I speak to, or their admin assistant, whatever it's called. I said, may I speak to the principal? Every time I'm going to talk to the principal. Now, before they go, yeah, they're right there. I said, hey, before I go, can I talk to you for a second? And they say, sure. And I say, can you tell me a little bit about so-and-so? Oh, yeah, well, and I just inquire and I ask them. You know why? They have no reason to lie to me. Like, they don't care. They're not doing their evaluations. I'll tell you this, too. If that person's come in and they've always been peaceful, peaceful, hopefully peaceful, but they've been positive, they've been kind to that person who, a lot of times you walk in, you're in a hurry or you're upset because you're having to go talk to your boss or whatever it is. That's a person's opinion that I really want, is whoever's running that front office. And I ask them every time what they think about that person, and they will tell me every single time. And it's a great way to get a vibe of somebody. And because when you get sent to the principal, every administrator knows like what you're supposed to say whenever it's somebody you're trying to hire. I mean, yeah, a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, do this. I'll tell you this. If they tell me, I say, hey, I was wondering about, Mr. So-and-so, what's your opinion? Mr. So-and-so has been employed here from 2008 to 2018. I'm like, yeah, but what do you think? What's their dynamic in the classroom? I can verify that they've been working here from 2008 to 2018 because there have been a lot of lawsuits that you learn about when you go through admin school where people have like filed like lawsuits against their principals for being honest about what they thought about them whenever they were being referenced. Right. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy cases and a lot of stuff that administrators are legally not allowed to say. It seems crazy, but again, it's a weird world.
So the takeaway from that is just treat everybody well and you don't have to worry about it. Absolutely. And also, especially your secretaries, because I didn't know Tyler called and talked to the secretaries, but I will say that I always think the secretaries are the most important people in the building. They know who's nice and they know who's not nice.
They also know who does their stuff because they're the ones going and trying to get everybody to turn stuff in. They know who the last person they have to call 8 times to turn something in and who's the first one in to handle it. So I want to read my quote because it's really good. You didn't read one. Who's that? Maya Angelou? I don't know who that is. Like a rapper or something? I'm going to read this. I'm just kidding. I know who Maya Angelou is. Hey, it's a joke. Tell them my tone. If you want to feel happy, do something for yourself. If you want to feel fulfilled, do something for someone else. And I think that's just a good quote. A lot better than her quote. But it's still, hers is a good quote. It's a great quote. Good, great. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we're talking about here.
Talking about Maya Angelou for a second.
That's Maya Angelou. That's low. Hey, Lo.
She's from Arkansas, and when I was teaching high school English, she was actually nice enough to give a phone interview to one of my students. So, she was already famous by then, and she still did that.
Oh, that's cool. Simon Sinek wrote a book that you can read and buy at Amazon, so whatever. You never heard of him? Leaders Eat Last? He's really good. You really should check out Simon Sinek. Excellent. If you want to learn about leadership stuff, definitely talk to him. He talks about the golden circle, but That's not what we're going to talk about.
Maya
It's really
included.
good.
She's passed away, so you can't talk to her anymore.
I mean,
She was good.
Write her notes.
Still read her books.
Yeah, that's good. Simon Sinek's still alive, whatever. Winner take all.
Terrible.
No, that's bad. Go ahead.
Okay, let's talk about your boss. I love cats. I love grumpy looking cats. I don't have a cat because I'm allergic, but I do love to look at cat pictures. This picture, like if you check out CEO, the manager, the employee, they all look grumpy and tired. And all of these, well, except for the general manager, they look a little bit sweeter. So here's where I'm thinking, or here's where I'm going with this. Is people always think they're just a little bit principal. I might think, I can really be a great principal. Or if I'm the assistant superintendent, I might think I could really do a great job as superintendent. And teachers might think they're just a little bit smarter than their principal, and so on and so on. We generally always think that. But you can never, ever say that. You can never talk about your boss. Even if your boss is a dumbutt, you can't talk about him that way. You can never say that. You have to keep that down. You just temper that down inside your soul and never
Bottle
say
those
that loud.
feelings up.
Bottle them up and keep that to yourself. That's my thing is keep that down. Don't ever say it. Don't talk about your boss to your coworkers. Don't ever talk about your boss and what he's not doing well or she's not doing well to your boss. That's silly. And I would say if you do have someone at home you can say those things to that is not related to the community, then fine. That's where you say it, and that's the only place you say it.
That's good.
Carry on.
Here we go my way. Remember that song?
Yeah.
I wrote that song. A lot of people don't know that. So one of the things, how I want to kind of talk about bosses. Also, it's very easy to make judgment calls on people in positions when you haven't served in that position. You know, a lot of times you look at somebody like a superintendent, assistant principals, whoever it is, and you're like, why did they do that? Oh my, I cannot believe they would do that. You know, or like say a teacher gets in trouble and they come back and they're like, I just talked to the principal and they said this and all I did was this. You're like, wow, that seems really unreasonable. I can't believe my boss would do that. They seem mostly reasonable most of the time. And it's like, well, the boss can't send out an email, hey everybody, here's the situation I have with the teacher and here's what happened based on the 15 accounts I got that don't correlate with what the teacher's saying. They can't announce that. You're like, there's confidentiality. That teacher can go off and say whatever they want about whatever version of the story they want. So if you've talked to your boss and you've talked to them, you know, chatted with them, you think, oh, they're fairly reasonable, blah, 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 and then you hear like either a decision being made or there's a situation and you're like, wow, that seems kind of crazy. I can't believe they would do that. You probably don't have the whole story. And it's illegal for that boss to tell you, here's the whole story based on every piece of evidence or our decisions or our budget. And so they don't really get to come out and say everything. And sometimes they do make bad decisions because we're people. We make decisions based on what we know, what we think, and what we believe. Like we all differ in educational philosophy, probably within this room. But so we're going to make different decisions. But I think on the core of it, most people in education, their core is to make things better for students. Like that's our goal. We just all have kind of different ways of viewing that. So what I would recommend, when I was a teacher, I thought all the principal did was like walk out and stand in the hallway in the middle of the day and like look around and then walk in there and wait on emails to come in. And like that's what I thought they did. I was like, I mean, that's all I see him doing. So if he's not in front of my eyes, he's not doing anything. And that's, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this. This gets under my skin right here. If you think because someone's not in front of you, like doing work you can see, that they're not doing work, you are dumb, okay? I'm just gonna say it. Like that is a terrible outlook to have. Just because someone's not near you. Like you can be out, like there are times like I'll be sitting in my office like writing a report that's going to the Department of Ed, and because I have my feet propped up while I'm typing, they think, oh, just hanging out playing blackjack. Like, no, fool. Like this is 2018. I can get work done on the computer. Like just because my feet are propped up doesn't mean I'm not handling more in a day than you handle like in a week, okay? And so that's just my own frustration. Sorry about saying that out loud, but here we are. So that's my opinion. Leanne?
No, it seems like there's something else I want to say about boss, but it's good stuff too. It's really way better than what you just said. I don't know what to say.
We'll never know.
Oh, I do know.
Dang it. Now we get to make the decision for ourselves.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about a boss I had one time that I thought I would never need again. It was early on in my career, and she was difficult, but very tough. I mean, very responsible, very tough, but hard to work for, just honestly hard to work for. And I thought about, when I was leaving that position, I thought about saying, just telling her what I thought about her and all the things she needed to fix about herself, but I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because you can't burn bridges. And I think I say that later here, I might not. If I don't, I'm going to say it right now. Don't ever burn bridges with anyone that's your supervisor, because you never know when you're going to need them.
Yeah.
So.
And you didn't really follow that philosophy with me though, like not telling me what I need to fix. Like it was like, I feel like all the
I never
time.
thought of you as my boss.
Oh, thanks.
Tyler might have
No big
actually
deal.
been my boss. I can't really bring myself to say that, but I never thought of it that way.
That's very sweet. They're kind of degrading, but thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
That's awesome. Okay, so and also you can learn something from every boss you have. And just like you learn from other teachers, you hear a teacher come out and they'll be like, well, I did this well, and you're like, never gonna do that in my class. And like that's something you learn from. You learn from the teachers you had in school. Like I want to kind of emulate this teacher, or I don't want to do the things this teacher did. Same thing with bosses. I've had some bosses who are probably like leading the state in certain areas, and that's something I try to take from them in how I wanted to lead. And there are others that like, oh, I saw how they did something. I'm like, I see why they're doing it. I understand it, but I think I would do it a different way. And that's just how I want to handle it. That's how I want to lead. And so that's the thing. We all have our own style and way that we lead. And I think that you can glean a lot for or against based on whatever you see in your boss.
Okay, take a risk. Here's the deal. Like, if you do want to move out of your classroom at some point, you've got to apply for some jobs. Like, and you won't always get them. And so I am not embarrassed to tell you I have applied for jobs that I have not gotten, and it's okay. I won't ever get the job I don't apply for. So you've got to be brave enough to take a risk. At one point in 2011, I never thought I was going to leave the classroom at all. And a friend called me and said, I need you to apply over here at Benton for a literacy specialist job. It was not anything I was even considering, but I said, okay, if you think I can do it, I just decided to go ahead and take that risk. And then I took a risk from moving from facilitator to administrator and so on and so on. You got to try, or you're not going to go anywhere.
Absolutely. Okay. I think a lot of times when, like I've applied for positions that I didn't get. There were some I applied for, and I look back and I'm like, I shouldn't have gotten that. Like I would have been terrible. Like that would have been a bad choice. They made the right choice, or I just wasn't like I didn't have the degree yet, or whatever it was. But then there have been jobs I've walked in, sat down, interviewed, and thought like, this is like I've done better than the previous person they had in this position at this role, and I didn't get it. And I know I was better than the person they hired. Like it's happened to me at certain jobs. Like, but then again, like not getting that job and then getting a job to where it's even better than I expected with that role, like it's worked out. And that's the thing, like if you sit back and like, oh, I didn't get that job, so my life is garbage. Oh my goodness. Like your life is whatever you continue to make it. And so I like this quote from have you ever heard of him, Michael Jordan?
I was just wondering if that was Steph Curry. But
It's close.
Okay.
It's close.
I knew you liked it.
He talks about missing shots, but then at the end, here's the key one. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. I think too many times people see like a failure. Is that how that word's pronounced? A failure. They see these times when they don't succeed as like, I failed. I'm a failure. No, like I think our life is made up of little failures that we learn from and grow to why we like overarching succeed. And I think the way I've heard it said is all these micro failures lead to macro wins. Like because you learn from those little bitty things that you mess up or that you don't do well, and you know next time I want to do different or better. And think of this. Think of the last like rude thing a student said to you. That stuck with you, right? But then you probably, for that one that you remember, you had like 100 nice things that students have said to you, but you don't really remember those. You remember that one negative comment that you got on Facebook versus the 100 really positives. And so it's like that goes a lot further with us. And so the same thing with failures. Failures have a way of sticking with us, but if we just sit there and dwell on them, we're not really improving. But if we sit there and think of how we can make them better, I think we can just always continue to improve.
Hey, I'm going to tell you a fun fact about Michael Jordan.
I'm really excited about this fun fact about Michael Jordan.
He actually did not make the varsity team when he was in high school.
Yes, everybody knows that, Leanne.
Well, I just learned it. So that is true, though. Apparently, he tried to play basketball in high school and wasn't tall enough to dunk.
Cool. Your basketball knowledge just caught up to 6th grade Tyler, so congratulations. That's good. Oh,
Are you watching that NBA thing right now? Is it on?
The NBA Finals? Yes. Yeah.
Kind of halfway watched the last few minutes of one of those games.
Yeah, it's really exciting right now. Because here's the deal. I don't even know you guys care, but I'm saying if we're talking, so I'm going to say this. People are complaining like, oh, whatever, the team's too good. Here's the deal. You have on one team, arguably, the greatest player of all time in LeBron James. Yeah, good job, man.
Yeah, thanks.
And then you have arguably the greatest team of all time in the Golden State Warriors. When have we ever seen that? Like, when have we ever seen arguably one of the best players in the history of the game play arguably one of the greatest teams? And it's a team game, so the team's winning, but it's still just fun to watch. So if anybody complains to you, cut them out. They're one of your 5 friends. You cut them out. Okay? And I said it's okay. They said, Tyler said I can't talk to you more. Who's Tyler? Doesn't matter. We're done here. That's what you can say to them. We're on the next slide.
I like that little LeBron, that guy though. I thought
The little LeBron.
I
He's
liked
6'8".
him because he was doing some kind of press conference, and they kept asking him the same question over and over, and he snatched up his little man purse and walked out.
He said, be better tomorrow, and that's the title of our presentation. Be better tomorrow.
Ooh,
everybody.
that's good.
I know. And he was ticked. You know why? Because they were trying to trap him and talk about his teammate.
Yeah,
But he wasn't going to do it, even though it was his teammate's fault. And you can see it in his face whenever he realized his teammate just lost him the game. That shouldn't have even been in. Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry, it's really exciting. Really exciting finals, everybody. Leanne.
Okay, look good on paper. So here's the deal. Get all the degrees you can. I mean, yes, you can apply for jobs that you don't have the degree for, but make yourself as marketable as possible. And if you are a coach, which I don't see any coaches. Oh, Coach Baxley is a coach.
Coach Baxley, everybody.
Coach Baxley is a coach.
Coach Tarver.
Coach Chenault. Coach Tarver.
Coach Chenault.
Yes, I would say if you are a coach, add something other than PE Health to your license, please, because it makes you a lot more marketable if you can get extra degrees, extra certifications, whatever. Make yourself marketable.
Just know if you have a certification, you might get stuck teaching that.
Yes, it's possible.
If we're sitting there like, we need a 8th grade science teacher. Well, you got a degree, you're bad, you're in it.
Yeah, actually, I need to talk to you later about science, by the way. It'll be
It's
fine.
gonna be a hard pass.
No, it's fine. You'll get a degree. All right, so get all the degrees. What is this? What have you got here?
It's called a meme.
Oh.
Or as I said it in my head when I used to read on the internet before I heard somebody say it, a meme.
A meme?
And then I said it out loud, and I got laughed out of the building.
Yeah, Dr. John Dye still says memes.
Well, it sounds better. It's more meme. It's like meme. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so boss says your resume is just pics of you petting dogs. Me, that's correct. Boss, visibly excited. Well, what's this little guy's name? It's just exciting. I don't know. I thought it was funny. I thought you would like it. It's talking about dogs.
Like the dog? Is it talking about the dog?
No, it's not the boss. Like you would think in an interview. The joke is like you would think in an interview like it'd be ridiculous to hand a picture of you just like petting dogs. That's ridiculous. Why would you hand that interview? And the boss you think would be like, this is crazy, but then he just gets excited because he loves cute puppies.
So that could happen to me. Like if you gave me a resume of you petting dogs, I really might like it.
I know. That's why I put it. I thought you'd appreciate it, but then I'd explain it to you, and it took away all the fun. So go
You don't
ahead.
have dogs.
I do have tons of dogs.
Yeah, you got like 45 dogs. You're a weird dog lady.
Yeah.
Dogs and bags.
Yes.
Okay.
I got a lot of dogs. Yeah. Go ahead.
You're
What else?
first.
Do we want to say anything? I mean, I've said it. You just get all the certifications you can. Get all the degrees you can.
Yeah, and then not just that, like, here, okay, this is a fun one. Whenever you do an interview, a lot of times you'll have like a quick look or something. Like if you get to write your own interview, at the top, have something that says quick look. Because it's a lot to read. We get a lot of paper resumes, like we're gonna quit like a paragraph in, okay? So the first thing you say needs to be something impressive and or something that catches their attention. And this is what I always say about interviews. Whenever you're interviewing for a job that's not at the school you work, like where people know you, where everybody knows your own name. I sang twice this whole talk, so we're in luck, 2 for 2. Whenever you interview for a job, you will have a subtitle because it is hard to remember everybody's name. There's always like 4 Rebeccas and 6 Taylors, so everybody seems kind of similar with the names. So what we say is, oh, that's the person who went to, Stanford, or that's the person that has 18 dogs and they put it on their resume for some reason. Whatever something that sets you apart from other people, that's how we're going to refer to you until we can remember your name. And so control your own subtitle. Don't be like the guy who kept like scratching his nose during the interview. Like be like you want to pick something. So one that I always used to do was I had some clips that were on a TV show that was on Tosh.0 or called Tosh.0 on Comedy Central, which is not appropriate. You shouldn't watch it. I haven't watched it in years, but I had some clips that were on it, and so I get to put that on there. That I would throw in like I have this degree was on Tosh.0, this degree, and what's the thing? They didn't care about my degrees. They always want to say, what clips did you have on Tosh.0? And I was like, I don't know. I like trust fell into my dog. Like I don't know what it was. I knew what it was, but that was something they could control.
To the room,
And yelling things, yes. My students used to do that all the time. It was ridiculous. I had to quit that job. That's why
that
I
was
was
a bad show.
You did say that. You did say it, and I said I'm 24. I'll do what I want. So
No, I didn't say that.
pick something out that's like outside of, even if you don't think it's like directly related, it's something cool or something out of the box, whatever. Like whenever I applied for Box Out, like I was like, yeah, I've written 3 books. I brought like 2 of my books and handed them out. I was like, here, y'all can keep these. Like, it's just something that someone else coming into that interview wouldn't be able to do, and it's something you're handing out there. So.
Fun fact about Tyler's books, we were talking about what's a cuss word, and I don't remember what the cuss word was.
I don't know, I don't say cuss words.
I don't know. Well, he had in his book something like, I said this is a cuss word, he said it wasn't. And then he goes to his office, he gets a book, and he said, look, this is right here, show. And I didn't know it was his book. He's like, this shows the levels of cuss words. And sure enough, the word I said was on there, but.
Oh, I didn't write the cuss word in the book.
No, he said these are the words you can't say. And he had them levels 5 cuss words.
Yeah, there's 5 levels.
Of cuss words?
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever it was probably a level 1. Do you have your book? Do you not know what it was?
Oh, I know what all the levels and all the curse words are, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, anyway, he whipped out his own book as a reference to say whatever.
There's 2 level 1s, 3 level 2s, 2 level 3s, or 1 level 3, 0 level 4s, and 1 level 5. So it's that bad. It skipped a level. So, don't say it.
I wouldn't say
that was the one you said. Pretty rude in the workplace, if you ask me.
Don't even say the FART word. I would not say that.
That's not on the levels.
Yeah, it should be though.
It's not even the honorable mentions. Okay, online applications. Leanne, you're real passionate about this. I've heard this 40 billion times. Go ahead.
I'm very passionate about this. So here's the deal. If you use lowercase I, if you do not capitalize the R in Arkansas, if you do not use periods after the road or street.
Can we back up just a little bit?
What?
Can you clarify on why you get upset if people don't capitalize the R in Arkansas?
Because it's not correct if you don't. If you say capital A, lowercase r, lowercase k, period, that is an older abbreviation of Arkansas. You can use that.
I got you. I see. You're saying in the abbreviation. I thought you meant in the spelling of Arkansas. Because I was like, I've been doing it wrong for years then. It's supposed to be
If you do capital A, capital R, that is correct. But someone at Box Out made a letterhead that has capital A, lowercase r.
It's wrong me.
It wasn't. It was Joshua. But it's wrong. It is wrong, and I cannot put my name on that piece of letterhead because that's wrong. So when you are filling out the online application, you're probably doing it home in your pajamas, and you think it doesn't matter if you're too lazy to put a P or a capital here or a period here. It does matter, because if it's someone like me looking at the online applications, I might be looking at 40, and if I see a doofus who doesn't capitalize the R in Arkansas, I'm not calling them in. I've got plenty of other people who are smart enough to know to do that I can call in instead. So there you go. That's just who you have to deal with when you have people reading your online applications, or people like me.
And so if you're really old and you used to do A, R, K, period.
Yes, then you better keep on doing that because it's still correct.
Okay, good. So you'd still call me in?
Yes, I'd still call you in. But if you did capital A, lowercase r, I wouldn't.
She would call me in.
I wouldn't call you in.
She'd go, she's old.
Yeah, that's exactly what she said. No, I'm not quite as hardcore as Leanne is. Like, we had one person not capitalize their first and last names, and you fought that like hardcore.
We're not bringing them in.
And I think we did interview him just to aggravate you, but yeah, it was. I care more about the content, what you write. But if you do look like you did it texting it on your phone, like I will be aggravated. I'm probably not going to want to, because it's going to associate me with the students who used to write essays like they were texting, and so that's what I think. So. Plus, I wouldn't really want you writing anything that's going out to the public. Okay. Did you like my meme?
Your resume says I'm a perfectionist. Was that a dig at me? Oh, you spelled perfectionist wrong. That's cute. I mean, you have to explain.
No, yeah, no. Apparently, I thought you got these. If you just like the memes for the colors, or do you get what they say? Go ahead. Interviews.
I picked this one, and I think that one is super cute.
Yeah, it's really good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's Michael Scott, The Office.
So here's the thing with interview questions. You always need to have a decent answer for what's your weakness. You need to have one in mind, because there's a 50-50 chance they're going to ask you that. So have a weakness in mind, and that is a decent one right there. I care too much to try too hard.
No, don't say that. That's a joke.
No,
it's literally a joke we put on the screen.
I'll tell you one that people say that annoys me and it turns me off is, well, I can't leave my work at work. And I'm like, you shouldn't. You should take your work home with you, and it should be your whole life. So don't leave your work at work. So don't say that. If that's your weakness, is that you can't leave your work at work,
I mean,
you should just keep that to yourself.
That's a hard opinion right there.
No,
That's really leaning into the opinion. I think you should be able to leave your work at work. Okay, so here I'll go ahead and give you, this is like cheat sheet. This is what you should say for your weakness, okay? If you're applying for a job you've done before, you can't use this. But if you're applying, like say you're in the classroom, you want to be a facilitator or assistant principal, anything like that. your answer can be, I feel like I have the skill set to do this. I know I have the personality. I know I have built the relationships. I've got the degrees. I've got all the necessary requirements. My only weakness is that I have not currently done this exact position before, but I know that I can do it in the future. That's a perfect weakness. It's sufficient and it's true, and it's something they already know. That's not like breaking news. Oh, they've never been assistant principal before. I didn't know that. Looking through your resume, scrolling through your paper resume, and I don't know. I think that's a great one to finish with.
I'll tell you another interview question that we always ask. It's usually our number 10 question is, why do you want to work at Bauxite? And I will tell you the answer that turns me off the most is because it's close to home. I'm like, I could not care less about where you live and how close this is to your house. That is the worst answer, and that will actually lose you points, and I probably will not hire you if you say that. Well, I probably would, actually, I do, because that's what 90% of people say. But it's ridiculous. Don't ever say it because it's close to my house.
No. The best is if you've actually, if it's a district that's not yours, if you've gone to the website, looked around, read some stuff on it, and you say, I want to work there because you guys value technology in the classroom, or you guys are pushing innovation. You've actually got an answer that's substantial, not it's close to home, or, well, I just want to make more money. And that's why you're there, we've heard those. And it's okay, cool, this was a wasted question for you, and we learned something about you just now.
Right.
And so, I think that's neat. Here are my 3. Can I give my 3 things?
Yeah.
Okay. When I'm hiring somebody, these are the top 3 things that I look for in those people. I want them to have a good personality, because I need them to be able to get along with people, because if they can't, it's just going to cause me a ton of problems. I need to know that they can work hard, because hard work can really overcome almost anything. And they have to be at least to a certain point of intelligence, okay? I think if you work hard, you can overcome the intelligence thing to a certain degree, but if you just can't comprehend something, that's not gonna work. If you've got something missing, and you talk to those people, you're like, wow, there's something that didn't ever click in their head, You know what I'm talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. What's mine from,
Elf.
Pretty close. Step Brothers? He goes to interviews and he wears his tuxedo and he goes with him, and it's okay. It's fine.
I've never seen that.
That's fine. You should. Okay. Perseverance.
Okay, so I have mentioned this before, but you have to keep trying. Like I said, there's jobs I've applied for that I haven't gotten, and if I let that be the end for me, then I would have never moved into any other position. You got to keep trying. And there are people who have applied 2 or 3 times at Bauxite that they didn't get the job the first time, and if they'd said, oh, I hate them now, then they wouldn't be hired right now. You've got to be willing to try again.
I could not have said that or written that any better, because I would have had incorrect grammar. So, great job. No, it's exactly right.
Gary Vee.
Yeah, you shouldn't listen to him. He cusses a lot of level 5s, but he does have a lot of good words. And so this is a quote I found without a cuss word. It says, many of you are worrying about your years while wasting your days. You can't expect 30 years of results from 30 minutes of work. You need to move fast, but you understand your vision takes time. A lot of times, we kind of talked about earlier, work hard, do this. A lot of times you can say, well, I worked hard all semester, all year. Yeah, sometimes it only takes a year. Sometimes it takes 2 years. Sometimes it takes 10 years. Sometimes it takes 20 or 30. That's what happened. But whenever you get to the end of that, you're going to get to the end of that, 30 years. Think of where you'll be as an educator if you've worked hard every single day, all the way up there, versus I worked hard, I'm just going to kind of coast on what I already know and what I already do. Think of where you'll be as an educator versus just sitting there the whole time.
Anything else? Is that it?
That's it.
Wow.
We should have added the end
Oh,
slide.
how about this? How about a question slide? Yeah. Pretend like that's right there. Pretend like that's what you're saying. Do you have any questions you would like to ask about interviewing, moving up, doing anything different? Don't be shy. Anyone?
Cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
well-
I guess we just answered everything in the slides, or they're checking their email. So.
Could be.
No, here's another one. I said it yesterday in the keynote thing. Whenever you're in stuff like this, whenever you're in PDs, whenever you're in faculty meetings, we're standing up here, I've got a gist of who's tuned in, and I can probably give percents of Matt's at
Matt?
we've got Matt at 35%. That's where we've got Matt.
First off, I can quote half of what you said.
I know.
Because he's heard it a billion times.
He has heard it a
Y'all are
billion times.
friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do know, I could literally go down and write percents of how interested all you guys were, because I've been watching your faces,
I loved
checking
her.
out.
She was good.
She was. You had really good
smiling.
reactions. I would say stuff, she'd go.
Yeah.
I don't know if she did it because I looked at her or because she really thought it.
No.
I need to have check a camera to see if she's doing it behind my back. She's just sitting there, and then I look over. No, like seriously, like whenever you're in there, your boss is making evaluations while they're talking of how much you're paying attention, how tuned into what you're, like even if they're just like, hey guys, we can't walk around the sidewalk on the outside, if you're just like sitting there texting on your phone or chatting with your friend or laughing or whatever, like we see that. They can see. They can see. They don't say it like that because it's creepy, but they can see you.
What's like you think at church, like for some reason you think that the preacher can't see you when you're fall asleep like my husband, but they can see you. It's not that far. There's nothing in between you. They can see you.
Yeah, and that will present itself, like especially whenever you're like, oh yeah, no, I love being a part of the group. I'm like, and they're like, no, you don't. You sit back there and gripe with Miss Whoever about everything we talk about at the meeting. So we're definitely.
So the way you act at PD is important. I'm not talking about it in here. Y'all have all been lovely except for Matt Baxley. Everyone else has been lovely. But the way you act in staff development is important.
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
So that was a tip number 11. Since y'all didn't have a question.
That was a bonus. Bonus. Am I right? Cool. Okay. Thank you guys. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you. You actually have 10 minutes.
You're all hired. Just tell your boss you get a raise. What up? Welcome back. Hey, Tyler here. How are you doing? How are you feeling? In the chat, let's do emoji check. And how are you feeling right now? Have you learned? Oh, no. To this point, what is something that you are going to try in your classroom or implement that you might not have wanted to, an hour or two ago? What is something you're wanting to implement in your classroom? Put that in the chat right now. I'd love to see it. I know the other people in the chat would love to see it. I know it'd be some great input. So throw that in the chat and then you can also copy paste and put in your notes just so you don't forget. Make sure everything you're doing, you're keeping notes of. Keep links to it, all of it, because I want you guys to be able to access and actually make your classroom better. I've sat through enough PDs in my life, professional development in my life, that I don't remember one thing from. I pray that you walk through this. I am hoping that you get something out of this training that you can take and use, once a day, once a week, once a year, once a decade, something that you use and implement, whether it's a mindset or a skill set or just any type of framework to build your classroom and make things better. Okay? Speaking of making things better, making ourselves better, I do want to give you, some thoughts on something that I offer, a community that we have at Tarver Academy that I think could add you a ton of value. It could help you get better all year. Because right now we're getting better with PD, with professional development. Hopefully you're getting better right now. This summer you're gonna hopefully glean some information, some knowledge, some experience, and you're gonna get a little bit better. I want us to get better all year. I want us to get better all throughout the year. And here's the thing with teachers. We do not have time to go sit through a 6-hour professional development once a week. So what I did was I created a community called Tarver Academy. And it was based on teachers telling me they wanted resources. They wanted a continuation of these trainings, of templates, of resources. They wanted to be handed to them, because if you go out and search for it, you're gonna find random stuff. They wanted stuff that could be applied to their classroom, that they can sit there, bite-sized professional development for busy teachers. That's Tarver Academy on a roll. And I would love for you to join if you want to. If you don't have to, don't pay for it. It's not very expensive at all, but I don't want you to have to pay for it. I would rather you use your district's professional development money. So if you want, have them go in, order that for you. Hey, here's the deal. Okay, let me be real with you. So you are signed up for the premium summer PD. Okay, either you signed up for it yourself, your principal, your administrator signed you up for it, or your district or your co-op. There were some amazing co-ops, districts that jumped in and realized that this could add value and flexibility, because they're offering 3 different sessions throughout the summer. You have flexibility to watch from home, or maybe you're watching with a group, maybe you're watching in your classroom, wherever you're watching from. They wanted you to add that value, and I wanted to give you a huge discount on the Tarver Academy Honor Roll. This is just for this summer, and it's just for the people that are on the premium watches, okay? And so the premium watches, the premium PD, okay? And so if you're watching this, you're here, you're on it, okay? So what you can do is you can sign up at tarveracademy.com/honor roll, and I want you to use this promo code. When you sign up, use this promo code. It's gonna cut in half. And it's one time for the full year, and it's gonna cut in half. Remember, use your district money if you can. So just write the promo code down, or put it in there and then get reimbursed, whatever you need to do. The promo code is premium, because you've signed up for the premium summer PD, and so I want to give you half off. So what that is essentially, you or your district or your co-op or your building paid for the summer PD, and so what it is, you get half off for these honor roll resources that come to you every week for the entire year. They essentially, it paid for more than, it paid for half of this just because they signed you up for it, or you signed up for it. So it's actually a better deal than if you just like straight up bought it. But you'll get access to these trainings anytime you want throughout the entire year, plus anything new. I'm gonna send you something every single week to help make you better in your classroom, because when you get better, your students get better. In the email every week, you're gonna get either a template, a resource, you're gonna get a short PD video, professional development, a training to show you how to do something you might not know how to do, or reinforce something you're maybe already trying. You're gonna get something that makes you better every week, plus some quick tips, links to some other things, and also you can ask me questions. I have a mailbag where you get to ask questions, and that's the list I'm gonna pick from first. I wanna help you guys. If I don't know how to do it, I'll do the research for you. I'll build, you're like, oh, I really wish I had a digital interactive notebook. Guess what I'll do? I'll go in and I'll build digital interactive notebooks, and I'll give you the template. You don't have to pay teachers. You don't have to go in and throw the money at anything. I wanna just hand it to you, and I wanna do trainings for you to help you. So if you wanna join that community, I think it's super helpful, and it's essentially where I become the tech facilitator for you. It's Netflix for teacher resources, and I would love for you to join and jump on that. So if you want, go there. It's tarveracademy.com/honorroll, and you can sign up for that. And I think it's just going to be a huge. It's going to be a huge help to teachers throughout the year who have a lot going on and not a lot of time, extra time to go out and do it. It's like as teachers, they always give you more stuff to do, but they don't give you like, oh, here's like an extra 3 hours a day to go out and do whatever it is you're going to do. So if you want to sign up for that, you can. I hope you've used this time also to use the restroom. So if you're just getting back using the restroom, guess what? We've just been talking about Tarver Academy Honor Roll. No big deal. But I'm going to give you guys time to go do that and get a snack if you need it. Whatever you need to do, we're about to kick back into, we're about to jump back in it. We're going to fall back into the gap, fall into the gap. Man, do y'all remember that? That was a good campaign. That was memorable. Wasn't it? Memorable? Yeah, sure. Okay, so we're about to get started. We'll get started here very soon, and we're gonna jump back in. We're gonna keep learning. All right, let's do it. Let's go. We're still doing this. In the chat, here we go. In the chat, I want you to tell me the name. Okay, don't say that. I was gonna say, tell me the name of, you know what? You can do that. Tell me the name of a teacher who made an impact on you and what they did. Why did they have an impact on you? In the chat, what name of a teacher or an educator that had an impact on you and what they did to have an impact. It was either the way they treated you, the way they ran their class, or the way they inspired you, or just the way they had structure maybe. They were reliable, they were consistent. I would love to hear in the chat, name of a teacher that motivated you as a student or as another teacher and what they did. So let's throw that in the chat, and we're about to get started. We're gonna jump back into it. We're about to get started. We're gonna jump back into it like a pogo stick. See that? See what I did there? Nope? Okay, all right, let's get going. All right, now this last part, remember this is a pretty chill part. This is an episode of Explain Everything podcast with myself and my friend Neil Greathouse. We're gonna give some tips on interviews. We're gonna explain the interview process, what that looks like, things we look for, and ways that you can be the best version of yourself during that interview process. So, the Explain Everything podcast, let's sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the last session of this training, Explaining Podcast. Here we go.
So today, what are we talking about, man?
We're going to talk about how to nail an interview.
Oh my goodness. Neil, just so people feel like they feel like they can trust us. Because sometimes we might jump into a topic, maybe rhymes with schmessling, and we don't know what we're talking about. So what can we say to reassure the good people at home that we're not going to steer them astray and they're going to walk into an interview and look like a Dunder Mifflin? They're calling me back. Go.
Okay. The very first thing that I would think actually sets us up for credibility would be our intro music by Joseph Tilley. Well, we're in it now.
We're in it? We're back in it? Oh, man, that music was so good.
Yeah. Did you know we did the music?
Fun fact about Joseph, he's my mentor. A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
How can we set the people at ease and let them know that we are probably the foremost experts on how to. I didn't say my words right there. I was a former sports on how to nail your interview.
That's a great question, Neil.
How many jobs have you had, Tyler?
In my I've had a lot in my life.
Okay,
Because I
yes.
worked since the age of 12 or 13. Was first paid gigs. Mom's take out the trash.
That's illegal.
That was before 12 or 13.
Okay.
Okay, these are under the table. Tell me if this is legit.
Okay.
They paid me $3 an hour to work in a warehouse, and they paid me in an envelope with cash. Is that legit?
100%.
Okay, sick. Then yeah, since 13. That's actually 100% true. Everything I just said there is true.
Oh my.
It
We're all
was
going to
wholesale
jail.
marine products.
We're going to jail.
So I would say career-wise, if we're talking post-college, that's what I'll count. I've worked my whole life, but post-college,
Okay.
I'm in my third job. Every 5 years, I transition to a new location. However, I've never had the same job 3 years in a row. I've always transitioned to something else within the organization.
Wow.
Yeah, it's whatever.
That's a little scary.
How about you?
How are you on your current?
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
It's great.
That's good.
Yeah.
I have had, I would say, not even exaggerating, in excess of 40 different jobs.
Oh, we're talking lifetime?
Yes.
I'm probably... Are we counting freelance?
No.
I'd probably say 20.
Okay.
A solid 20.
So I'm twice as good as you are.
Or twice as bad. I think
Twice as bad. Depends on how you look at it. Yeah, that's good. You're probably right. All right. What was your very first job? Clock in, clock out job.
It was working in a warehouse, pulling products from marine wholesale. So I was the middleman between factories overseas and dealerships. They send it to a warehouse for a wholesale marine products company, and I would hand it off and box it and package and ship it out.
How long did you work there?
Every summer except for 2 from ages 13 to 23.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was a commitment.
Yeah. Well, my dad was one of the owners.
Okay.
So
that helps.
that helped me get in there.
That's good.
Yeah. How about you? First job?
First job lasted 38 seconds.
Oh, goodness. Sounds like a job my brother would have had.
He
got fired a lot.
It sounds like a job my brother would have had.
Yeah. We have the same brother.
I got a job at Wendy's.
Okay.
And they did not give you full uniforms. This
Okay.
was the very first clock in, clock out job that I ever had.
Okay.
I clocked in. They did not give you the pants. They just said wear blue pants.
Oh,
and
that's
they
pretty
gave you a
specific.
shirt and a hat. I clocked in, and the lady said, let's actually role play this out. Okay. Give me on the clock for 38 seconds.
Okay. Hey, welcome to Wendy's. We're so happy you're here. This is Neil. He's new.
Hey guys, my name's Neil. I'm here. It's my first day. I'm really looking forward to learning from you guys and you guys mentoring me along with Joseph Tilley. It's going to be great.
Okay.
And then the lady goes, "Hey Neil, why are you wearing dungarees?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what dungarees are." She's like, "You're wearing blue jeans." I said, "Ma'am, I don't know. I'm not wearing blue jeans. These are Dockers." She goes, "There was blue jeans. You can't wear those. Those are against the rules." I said, "Ma'am, okay, it's my very first day." She goes, "Clock out, go home, change." I said, "Okay, I'll do that."
And you never came back.
Yep, clocked out. Went home on the answering machine. That's how long ago this was.
Yeah.
On the answering machine was a message from McDonald's offering me a job with full uniforms.
What?
Book it. I'm in.
And you said, Wendy who?
38
I'm a Ronald
seconds.
guy.
Yeah. 38 seconds. Knowing how to interview is extremely important, but it is not just a face-to-face interview that happens anymore. There are
Multiple layers.
phone interviews.
Oh, yeah.
There are video interviews.
Well, honestly, most of the time you have to digitally apply, so that's an interview within itself.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
gets you on the table.
Absolutely.
And so, as far as interviewing, being the interviewer, sorry. The interviewee is the person getting interviewed.
Interview-esque.
Interviewer-esque squire.
Hello, my name is Charles Catechathan III.
So that was dumb. Sorry. I have interviewed probably over 200 people.
Oh, wow.
for
You have
jobs.
given interviews.
I've given interviews.
Whoa.
Probably over 200 different interviews.
Worst interviewer you ever saw.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So I've got these. Okay. So we tried this. Most of them are for education, like teaching jobs. We had one cat come in.
One cat.
We marked off 45 minutes for these interviews. Okay. Oh, yes, ma'am. Hey, how are you?
I'll just finish out the rest of the story.
5 minutes later.
True story. Tyler turned in a resume when he first started attending New Life Church. He gave us a resume, and it was a DVD of his greatest hits. I am not making that up. And also a portfolio, and I think there were a lot of hand-drawn drawings inside there for a position that he definitely would not have wanted, but he really, really liked our church, and he wanted to be a part of what we were doing, and he set that in, and I watched every video on his DVD, which I feel like he even made like a cover art for it. It was incredible, and that's the rest of the story, and it's true.
2 hours later.
And they also they brought in a lot of
Hey guys,
Amish
welcome
culture.
to the Explain Everything podcast with Tyler and Neil. If you're
guys.
just joining us, Neil's been kind of out of commission for a few minutes, literally just blacked out.
What?
Gave a monologue
Where
for
am I?
17 minutes
Where am I?
on
What happened?
how to do an interview. And I thought to myself, Neil, that was really good, but I think we could make it even worse if I would join in the conversation.
And I thought to myself, Self, you really shouldn't do that.
Really
Self.
shouldn't do that.
That's
You-
my favorite thing when somebody says, I thought to myself, Self, you shouldn't do this.
You know what? I went through a phase about 8 years ago where I would go, I thought to myself, Tyler, you should do that. Because I tell people that I talk to myself in a British accent.
Do you?
No, but I used to make that joke thinking it was funny. Little did I know, people hated me. Hey guys, okay, so I think where we left off was I had talked to you.
Did we leave off or did we finish up?
Are we done here? I would love to keep talking about it. I
Tell
really
me
do
more.
love
Tell me
this.
more.
Okay.
Tell me more.
Tell me more. Tell me. I'm going to cut out literally the whole part that I wasn't talking. Is that okay?
Dang it.
I'm going to make it a special on our Patreon,
Whoa.
patreon.com/explain everything.
All right.
Not explain everything. Tyler, gosh, I knew I was going to mess up. Patreon, patreon.com/explain everything. The entire conversation, which I think at some point features my iPad serial number if you want to just go ahead and steal my iPad and hack in. It's all available there. Go check out the Patreon. It's Neil's literal 15-minute monologue on how to do an interview.
That's more than behind the scenes. That is the scene.
That is the real scene. So here's our second version of this with me. Hi, Tyler Tarver. At Tyler Tarver. Holla at me on Instagram. Always plug. So I have been the interviewer for over 200 interviews. And so I've gotten the chance, most of them for education. You know, we've done different roles in a school, but most of those were education roles. A lot of teachers, some administrators, paraprofessionals, a lot of different roles. And I've gotten the chance to, you know, be someone who's just in the room, kind of just asking questions if I wanted to, watching. Some I didn't even say a word, the whole interview.
Wow.
Shook their hand when they came in, shook their hand when they walked out. But a lot of them, I was the person leading the interview, and I would get to ask the questions, and we go through a set of, you know, procedures. The way most of our interviews go, just to give you a heads up, was they'd come in, little, you know, cordial, hello, how are you? That's how we talk whenever they come in interviews.
That's
hello.
incredible.
And
That's how you know who's who.
Then they would present. We had them do like a short presentation on themselves. So it was like about me, personal, like work, school, like experience, and then like
That guy from Memento could do a lot of presentations on himself. He's
Yeah.
literally like right here.
It's
on
right
my
here.
arm
This
is where I had it.
right here's where my elbow is, but it also tells me that I need to not trust you. You're in trouble now, Mister
Okay,
Christopher
sorry.
Nolan.
Sorry.
and then he says the director's name.
That's right.
And they would do a presentation. The reason we did this, one, you're getting to know about them, but also it gave them a chance to present. If there's one thing everybody should know about, it's themselves. And so,
Yes.
you know, if that, you know the material. And so we get a chance to see them and how they teach and present and conduct a room. And so we take a lot from that presentation, and then they sit down and we do questions for about 20, 25 minutes.
How long is the presentation?
Usually we try to tell them 10 to 15 minutes.
Wow.
Now, you were asking earlier about my worst interview. So I
Yes.
needed that context beforehand.
Okay, got it.
So worst interview, this cat comes in and we have 45 minutes blocked. It's like every 45 minutes a new person's walking in.
Oh, wow.
He gave a presentation for about 35 minutes.
Okay.
Then he came in, started talking, sat down, and started passing around all these artifacts to show why he is good for the job. There were newspaper clippings from 30 years ago.
Oh my
where he was
gosh.
mentioned about something he did. I don't want to get too specific because it would show like the role.
Wow.
He's sitting there. At one point, he teared up because he started telling a story about something that had happened, but he didn't explain the story. So it was really just him tearing up at the start of a story and then changing the subject.
Oh my.
During the presentation, there was an audio clip that came up on one of the slides and started playing background music that was too loud, so you couldn't hear him.
Oh my
And it
gosh.
kept playing for about 7 or 8
Was it
minutes.
the Indiana Jones theme song?
If it had, he'd have gotten the job. I was like, excuse me, sir, we'll stop this here. You can have my job. Fun fact. He talked, we could not get him out of the room. It took him an hour and a half to get finished.
Oh my gosh.
I literally had to stand up,
He burned
start
through
putting his
two-
stuff
2 interviews. I had to start getting his stuff, and I was putting it in his folder for him while he's still sitting down talking. And I was like, thank you so much. Literally packing his stuff up for him.
Oh, my.
The interview, 2 interviews after him, a guy came in, and he was talking about how he interviewed for a job about 15 years before that. Said he thought he should have gotten the job. I don't know how he got on this, but started talking about how he should have gotten the job. The guy that got the job instead of him, he told us a little bit about him, and he goes, well, I found out later they didn't really like him there. I checked on ratemyteacher.com, and
oh my,
he didn't get it, or he wasn't very good at it, blah, blah, blah. I did the math. The long interview guy was the guy that got the job over him.
No.
Dead serious. From like almost 2 decades before.
Wow, they miss each other by that much.
I think they're a traveling act.
They
do
it's vaudeville.
This show, and we were filmed, and I'm going to be on some 2032. I'm on a TV show by these 2 cats.
That's amazing.
It was really good.
What are the odds of that?
I mean, 1 in a million.
Pretty good odds.
Neil, how about you? What was the worst interview you ever sat through that you can talk about?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's the tricky part is, when it's like HR and all that kind of stuff, so I had a guy that interviewed for a position, and he didn't tell us everything on the application and resume and all that sort of thing. And I said, is there anything that you left out? Like, it's always really good to say, is there anything you left out here that maybe if we found out? That way, just like, you're kind of giving him a chance to
come clean.
Yeah. Well, he's like, yeah, I got to be honest with you, man. I like you a lot. I think I probably should have put down there my jail time, and it was multiple jail time.
Question:
and
real jail time, or was it like he was playing Monopoly and he couldn't roll doubles?
Legit jail time.
Oh, that's worse.
Yeah, and it was multiple times. And I was like, so tell me one of the reasons why you want to get this job. He's like, I need the responsibility of this, so I don't end up back in the clink.
Back in the clink. He did not say clink. Did he say clink?
No, I just did. But that was like I was like, oh wow, so you definitely left that off. He said, yeah, well, I really appreciate your honesty, I think.
Question. Mm-hmm. When he brought up jail time, did he hit play on the computer and start playing Indiana Jones theme song? Da, 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 da.
No.
It's the same guy.
Oh, man. Nope.
He's blind in one eye.
Wow. There it is.
Seabiscuit quote that I love.
It's good. All right, you want to run through some do's and don'ts of interview etiquettes?
Absolutely.
Right.
Fun fact also, one time we had a person, we had to stop the interview because they almost passed out.
Oh, because they were nervous?
Yes, they got so nervous. They said, I think I'm about to pass out. So we had to stop the interview, get them something to drink and eat, chat to them with them for about 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh,
fun
did
fact.
You hire them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because we knew about them beforehand.
Okay.
And they had been there for a while,
wow.
student teaching, and we were like, they're really good. And so it really didn't matter.
One of the reasons why it is important to do a good interview is because if you're typically the person who's interviewing, that also means that if things don't go well, you are also probably the person who has to let them go. And that is miserable.
Yeah.
That is very, very difficult.
Wait, you're talking about like the people who call and say, hey, you didn't get the job? Or are you talking about like if you hire them, then you have to let them go?
Yeah, if you hire them and it doesn't go well, that feels miserable.
Yeah, and I've worked for people that they take on that responsibility. I've worked for some that are like, no, you're going to do it because I don't want to do it. Yeah, they'll hire you and you're like, that wasn't my hire, and then they make you be the one.
That's terrible.
It happens.
HR is so tricky. I was talking with a guy yesterday. He's a very high-level executive at a bank, and you know who you are.
It's me.
He said when you are actually letting somebody go, there are certain things. So they would bring multiple people in the room to do it with them. So you have multiple witnesses.
Yep.
You have to say a few things. It cannot be, you can't even say, and they're like, listen, I'm really sorry about this. You can't say that. You can't say, you meant a lot to us. You can't. You have to hit things exactly that, because if you were to, it's basically like you're inferring that, hey, this was our fault, not your fault. There's so many things you can and can't say.
Can't do that.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
They brought somebody in from HR with him to say 2 sentences. That was all they had to say. Because legally they had to say those sentences, and then that person was asked to leave, and they brought in somebody else to keep the interview or the dismissal going, which is crazy.
It's different for educators. You actually have to follow something called the Teacher Fair Dismissal Act, and so like you have to do it's like 6 months.
The TFDA.
We don't call it that, but you could.
Okay.
You'd be people would look at you like a weirdo.
Hey,
you may go a weirdo.
You want to fill out this TIFTA?
But yeah, that's what I always tell people. The most important thing any principal or administrator does in a school district is hire people, because you are not just like, I'm hiring somebody to fill this role for next year. It is so difficult to get rid of people. You're hiring someone else's problems.
For life.
You're hiring something that administrators years after you're gone are going to have to deal with from somebody. Man. And so it's like, You're dealing with you're hiring who's going to educate students, hundreds if not thousands of students. Like, it's a big deal.
That's a lot of influence.
And again, it's different, with different jobs, but that's the one I've experienced with. So that's what I want to talk about. So let's go through some tips and tricks.
What do you think the percentages are on somebody who, okay, so there was a study that was done, 2,000 business level executives in an HR department that hire people in, they were polled. What do you think the percentage is on the amount of people that say within 90 seconds they know whether they're going to hire that person or not?
Oh, I'd say 80 to 90%.
Oh, wow. Your numbers are higher than theirs.
Oh, well.
They basically said it was like 33% of them said they knew within 90 seconds.
Oh, I could tell you that.
I would say it's a lot higher than that.
I would say too, because that's the thing. You don't get, we'll say that. Usually you don't get to that level of leadership or like the ability to hire or fire people unless you're good at reading and,
writing and arithmetic.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Reading, writing, arithmetic. I'm from Ohio.
So what? Whoa.
That's how people in Ohio talk.
Well, hello there.
Hi, I'm from Ohio.
Can I have some pop? So
that's our trademark
what are
up in
things
Ohio.
that-
I'm from
Oh,
Ohio, Neil. A lot of people don't know
Heard
that.
a lot about this.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to go home. It is very important when you walk in the doors that you can spot certain things. What should you think about your appearance, the way that you're acting, and all that kind of stuff? What are things that interviewers are looking for?
Well, one, you're looking to make sure they look clean. Not drunk.
I'm cleaning this.
Had a guy come in an interview once. Pretty sure he had been drinking a lot. He was sweating everywhere.
Which also, side note, if someone takes you out for lunch or for dinner during an interview or for a second follow-up interview, do not order any of the alcohol or whatever is out there. You'd be shocked at how many people do that. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. Keep going.
They're testing you. I look, their appearance, how they conduct themselves. Eye contact is huge. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. Like all the stuff that people should know up front.
You would think.
You do not have to address me like that on the day-to-day basis. I don't expect you to walk through the hall and go, hello, Mr. Tarver, it's great to see you. Yes, sir.
Right.
Like, no, but I know that
Which is
you
weird,
know.
because you've been making me say that to you.
Well, Neil,
every time.
you started off kind of rough. You cussed at me and you talked about when you were in the clink, and I was like, this is not appropriate.
I think we all know my stance on the cussers. So if somebody's coming in and they're saying yeah to you as opposed to yes or yes sir, does that matter?
It doesn't. For me, it depends. That one I'm not going to rank your whole interview on. It's not going to be as big of a motivator. I'm a millennial, Neil.
Man.
So it doesn't bother me as bad. I'm okay with casual. However, I do like to know that you can conduct yourself in front of a parent or like another adult. Like I need to know that you can handle and be professional when you need to be.
Yes.
And if any time is to be professional, it's then. So honestly, it's not going to be your make or break. It is something I'm going to take into consideration.
Yeah, I think so. So body language says a lot.
Yeah, what do you think's like? What would be a good indicator if somebody'd be like, all right, this person's doing well? What's a good indicator for body language?
I think smiling.
Yeah, that's
very
good.
important.
I like people that smile.
Smiling is good. I think not fidgeting.
Yeah.
Not having your arms crossed, arms folded. That says I'm very defensive.
So where do I put my hands?
Up in the air.
Just like I just don't care.
Like you just-
All the women who are independent, throw your hands up in the
the
air.
roof is on fire.
We just hit 3 songs in like 4 seconds. That's
it
a
didn't
record.
take much long. Yeah. Endless movie quotes. 2019.
Endless movie was our song.
So I think that what do you do with your hands? You could fold your hands. You could put them on your lap. You could put whatever. I think like fidgeting, like nervous ticks, nervous movements, all that kind of stuff is no good.
No.
Leaning forward. Leaning a little bit, instead of leaning way back in the chair, I would say lean a little bit forward.
Yep.
That says that I'm interested, but not like so far forward that you're like, wow, you're
Leadership Lean In, man.
Yeah.
Chad Veach podcast. Chad Veachcast.
Veachcast.
That's the name of this podcast.
Well, let me think about some other ones. So I think eye contact.
That's big.
Huge.
Yeah. Know that you're not going to look at me like you just did a drug deal and you don't want me to find out. Like, seriously. Walk in and shake my hand. That's another thing. One thing a lot of people miss when they walk in the room, because usually we would have anywhere from 3 to 8 people in the room for interviews.
Right.
Walk in, shake everyone's hand, say hello, ask their name, and make eye contact. That's 101. And you have people that come in and just be like, hey.
No.
Hey, guys. Hey, everybody.
And
I get if you're going to make a joke, like if you're like late or if they're in a hurry or whatever. But honestly, I still think go around the room. It shows every single person in the room they're important to you.
I think that's right.
So
a good handshake goes a long way.
Yes, it does. Oh, don't give me no floppy fish.
No. Gross.
Gross.
Don't do that.
No,
what happens
if you pull out an actual floppy fish, that's funny.
Sure.
I can live with that.
Man, You should do that. You should, hey, I'm not really good at handshakes, so I
then
wanted to give you this.
And it's a live fish. It just
floppy fish. It's one of those Billy Mouth Big Bass things. So,
you know what? I worked at a wholesale marine products place. That was no joke on the wall.
Of course it
Big
was.
Mouth Billy Bass.
Big Billy Mouth Bass.
No, that's one way to do it.
Okay.
If you want to be wrong.
I think if you were going to print something out, how many copies of that should you bring?
Enough for everybody in the room, but it all should be on one page. Don't give me no packet.
Wow. That's probably smart.
If you can do one page, great. I understand that doesn't always fit on one page, but you can do a one-page summary. Here's to be honest, they're not going to read. This is another thing I like a tip I tell teachers. You are going to have a subtitle.
Oh.
So whenever you're interviewing, if we interview for elementary job, we're going to interview 10 to 20 people for that job. Mm-hmm. Normally, I say that. Usually between 5 and 15. I don't know why. Number doesn't matter. We're going to interview a lot of people. Your names are going to run together. Oh, it's Jeff Green and Billy Bass and like whoever, Neil Greathouse, Tyler Tarver. All the names start running together.
Tom Tomlinson.
What you do is in that room, you will develop a subtitle. So whenever they're recapping, who did you guys like? I like the lady from, Arkansas Tech University, or I like the guy who goes fishing on the weekends. You're going to be remembered for something from your interview.
Wow.
And so what I always tell people is control your narrative. So one that I always did whenever I would interview was I would throw out the fact that, hey, I was on Tosh.0 on Comedy Central. So now that's the most
they'll remember.
I doubt they're going to have anyone else come in that's going to say that. That's the way I'm going to be remembered, and I controlled it. I'm not like, hey, there's the guy that, walked down the street and peed on a raccoon or something. I don't know. Why would I put that on my resume?
I want that.
It depends on the job.
On my team right now. Book him. Tell everybody else to go home.
He's blind in one eye.
Tell the guy who's going to go for an hour and a half. Tell him to stay out there.
Yeah, he'll still be sitting there looking at newspapers.
So give him one sheet of paper. Don't print off an entire ream of them. Just give enough. Know how many people in the room. Know who is going to be in the room. Do a little bit of research on them and the company that you're going to work for.
Oh, that's a big deal. That is a big deal. Whenever you come into the room, know about the people you're interviewing with.
Yeah.
Don't just be like, oh, it's just another job. That was whenever I worked at a school district, it was called Bauxite. And we would ask, one of the questions was, why Bauxite? Why do you want to work here?
Yeah.
And there were people that were like, well, it's a closer drive. Or,
oh my God.
They would say that sometimes.
For real.
It happened more than you would think.
That's
It's like, seriously? I know you don't have an answer prep, but don't just give me that. Don't be like, oh, some are like, I've researched the district. I want my kids to go here, and I would love to work.
Like,
I get
B.
that. Like, yeah.
B is my favorite letter.
I don't have to scroll that far in the zip codes. Like, what in the world?
Oh my gosh.
Like, and that's the thing. If
tough.
you come in and like, hey, I love how you guys do this, or I love how you promote this, or I love what you've done here, that shows that you want to be here for more than just like, oh, I just need to get paid.
Yeah. That's important. They, at some point, every good interview will almost inevitably ask you, hey, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah.
Do you prep that? Do you have good questions done ahead of time? Should they watch and find out how Sean does it on Hot Wings? Isn't that his name?
Hot Ones?
Hot Ones, Hot Wings, whatever it's called. Yeah, it's like no good questions.
Have good questions.
Don't just give a question that's like a yes/no answer.
No.
Hey, do you like your job?
Don't say this. Don't go, when do I start?
Oh my gosh. You got a 10 or 20 minute smoke break. I've had people ask me that.
Well,
at church.
And you said as long as you want because you're not working here.
Whoa, wow.
Okay, so question. So you've for the past 12 years you've worked at a church.
I have, yes.
And it's one that I would assume, a lot of people that get connected and get to see the atmosphere would want to work there.
Yep.
But you don't necessarily post jobs on like a website where you can apply very often. It's more like we have people serving in these roles, and at some point you're like, well, let's offer them a job, or let's see if they want to come on part-time, or whatever it is.
Correct.
So what would be your advice to people if it's a company like that doesn't post jobs very often? How can they go about letting people know, hey, I'm interested in working here. Keep me in mind if so-and-so comes up or open or whatever.
Well, I would say so at the organization that we currently work at, we don't hire a position, we hire a person. And I was told that really early on. What ends up happening is if the way my supervisors would always say it to me is if I would say, hey, we really need to hire somebody for this position. We're understaffed, undermanned. We need help or whatever. They would say, do you have a person in mind? If we ever said no, they knew that we weren't ready to hire yet because we didn't have a person ready. I would say go do whatever you can to be involved on that team, to be involved with that business at the best of your ability and capacity, and volunteer and serve, so that when the time does come and they say, yeah, you can go ahead and hire somebody, they have a name of a person that they want to hire, as opposed to, now you still have to, legally, you still have to go through the whole process by submitting everything, and it has to go through the whole process. But I would say just be the person that it's a no-brainer. They know who they would want to hire.
Yeah, no matter what the role is, they know you're going to add value to your team.
Right.
Now, obviously, some people are better with experience and skill sets, degrees to be on certain roles, but
I also say don't. This is extra. You didn't ask me this.
No, I'm asking.
Don't be that person who says, "I just want to get my foot in the door so I could eventually get the job that I want there."
Yeah.
It is better if you just don't do that, because then you're going to be miserable in that spot.
Yeah, I get that.
Everybody else is miserable too.
Yeah, they all can't stand you.
You know why?
He's blind in one eye.
Oh, man.
I was ready.
Oh, I let him into that one. Let him into it.
Does anybody sleep here? Okay, cool. Eyes ready.
Oh, wow.
Sorry. I just had to feel it.
All right. I think we pretty much covered a lot of the do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
There's a couple extra ones that we have in here that are things like, hey, don't take in more than one thing in your hands.
It's good.
Don't take a coat, half of a uncooked hamburger patty, and like a bunch of, this is weird. Just take one thing in your hands.
Can I tell you a secret about me?
Yes.
I used to have this weird thing in my head growing up.
I'm so ready for this.
This is so weird. I had some weird stuff. We can talk about that later. But like this, I used to think anytime I went somewhere like a camp, if I'm staying overnight, anywhere I went, I still kind of do, I need to take as little as possible. I have underpacked for so much stuff.
I could see this
because
easily.
I in my brain, I always like, I don't know. I didn't look down on people that took too much, but I would just be like,
overpackers.
I thought it was gross. Like, why would you bring so much? But I would always inevitably have like 3 days too few of clothes, because I was
that's
like,
not gross.
And I would try to keep it as compact as possible. I don't know why. Like, there's no good reason.
Flipping your underwear inside
I don't
out
even
so you
know
wear it
how.
again. Yeah, I don't know.
No.
Why?
Why? I don't know. I don't know why I did that.
I've seen you take far less than what I thought you would take. Now, I'm not an overpacker.
Yeah.
I take exactly what I need and enough diabetes supplies to help me get through the night in case something happens.
Pretty good.
But honestly, I try not to I can't stand having too much.
I try to pack out like, hey, this is tomorrow, this is the next day, and then usually a couple extra pairs of whatever I need.
If I can't fit it in a Trapper Keeper, I don't take it with me.
Oh, if it's not, that's why I only pack a Trapper Keeper inside of another Trapper Keeper.
Whoa.
Yeah, like a day planner Trapper Keeper inside of
That's
a regular
like asking
3-ring
for
binder
more
Trapper
wishes.
Keeper. Well, man.
You get 3 wishes.
Stacks on stacks on stacks.
Can't ask for more.
This is getting so weird.
Shredding cheddar.
People that are like, I want to know how to do an interview. We're coming
Yep.
in. Okay, Neil,
Yes.
I'm asking this because I already got my answer.
Okay.
What are the 3 things?
That was very honest of
yeah,
you.
man. Well, I'm not going to play no games.
Okay.
No, I don't want. I said that in chapel today. I go, hey, don't be a scrub. We don't want no scrubs.
Yeah, did they
A
know?
scrub is a guy who thinks he's
Did they know
fine.
what you were talking about?
Oh, yeah, about 4 of them did.
Did you ask him at some point? Did you slow things down? You look right at him and you say, "Listen, if you had
One shot. One opportunity.
oh my gosh,
Would you let us, Mom
Would you let it
Spaghetti.
slip away? Okay.
Hey,
What's
what
the
are
question?
3 characteristics, the top 3 characteristics you look for in an employee?
their previous work history and how long they stayed there.
Okay, so you value longevity.
I value that you didn't work 40 jobs like I did. It's
Neil
just
would not hire
it's no. Now I will say that you get experience, but what that says is I'm unsettled and I'm probably not going to last long here.
So here's my question, because this is something that people talk about a lot. That they would be in the interview room a lot because people would bring up like, I don't think they'll be here more than a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Would you rather have somebody there for 30 years who's going to be okay, or would you rather have somebody great for 3 years?
I would rather have somebody great for 3 years at the position they're going to be in and stay at our company and go up from there.
What if you don't have anywhere for them to move up from there?
If they're a great person, then that's fine.
Okay, so if somebody came in, they're a dynamo, they make stuff better.
I don't think less than a year is worth anybody's time anywhere.
No, I don't either. Usually, they say statistically it takes 2 years to get somebody really rolling in their roles.
Yeah, I would say I would take the 3-year person over the 30 if they're just looking for a position. I want somebody who knows that they're going to bring value and whatever, but they themselves. So at the end of the day, it's probably the second one, that they have a self-awareness, that they are continuing to sharpen themselves, they are continuing to get better, and they are not waiting on someone else to help develop them. They are taking that personally.
That's good.
On themselves.
Yeah. I said that in an interview, or not interview. I was interviewing yesterday.
Whoa.
Yikes, hot take.
No, I was talking to some new hires about culture, and I said that. I said, our organization is going to grow and develop, and if you don't do that, you're going to be left behind. I didn't make that up, but I passed it off like I did.
That's good. That's smart.
Thanks, man. I didn't make it up, but I passed it off like I did. There, I said it twice.
How about you?
Clean.
What are your 3?
Did you say your third one?
That's germs, but it doesn't matter.
So you do a germ count? All right,
No,
put the swab in your fingertips.
Oh, gosh. Those swabs
and then you put it in your
are
mouth and you
awful.
taste, you're like counting the germs.
That's terrible.
Okay. So, hold on. I'm getting a call from Apple. I'm just kidding.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm joking.
That was terrible. Ability to focus, I would say, is a really good one.
Let me go. All right. So, my 3 things that I always look for in an employee, a potential employee, are I need them to be intelligent. And that doesn't mean you have to be the smartest person. It doesn't mean you have to have a bunch of degrees. It means that you have to be able to learn. There are some people that they'll put up a wall and be like, well, I can't learn that. Or I'm not a tech person. Or I can't do this. You have to be able to learn. And that's what I mean by intelligent. Second, you have to be hardworking. Okay? Because I think if you're partially intelligent and you'll work hard, that'll take you way farther than being this so-and-so smart. There's so much in life you can do. Just be hardworking. Like if you're going to work hard at something, I can help train you and point you in the right direction. So intelligent, hardworking.
Okay.
And the third thing, and this is kind of cheating because I think it envelops a lot of characteristics. Your personality has to match. I'm not saying you have to be, you got to be outgoing or you got to put on a show. No, that might not be the role for you, but your personality has to mesh with the people that you're going to be working with.
I agree.
Or I will be wasting my time mending stuff the whole time because you can't get along with anybody.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so personality, hardworking, and intelligent.
If you had to pick one out of those 3, which one is it?
Oh gosh, that's tough. Personality. That's the thing. Like,
really?
I
you
could
be a dingus and not a hard worker if you have the right personality. You could work.
I could find a role for you.
Okay.
I mean, but I say that because if you're intelligent or hardworking, but your personality is something nobody wants to be around,
right.
Like I'm gonna want to let you go the whole time. Like it affects everyone around you. If you're not hardworking or you don't have the right intelligence, like, it's going to affect your job, but if you have a bad personality, it's going to affect everybody else, and nobody's going to be around our organization.
Ain't got no friends. You know what? I think it is rare to get all 3 of those.
It's true. It is rare.
I think it's rare.
That's why I hire those people.
Tyler, you're one of those kind of people.
That hire those people?
No, you're right. It is very difficult. So even when we said like a self-awareness that you're going to develop yourself, what you're saying with personality too is your own personality awareness of how you impact and work well with other people is huge. Because if you don't understand that you are steamrolling people, you're not going to last long.
Exactly.
Somewhere. And if you're in a position where you're up at the very top, nobody wants to work for you versus the other way around.
Yeah, it's good, Neil.
It's insightful, Tyler.
So good. This is a 40-minute podcast.
Well, about 20 minutes of it there is...
I'm going to get cut out. It's going to be available on patreon.com, so I explain everything.
Right. In case you're just now joining us, we had a bit of a snafu.
Why would they just join us the last 2 minutes of the podcast?
Well, they like to skip it to the end where they know that we're going to talk about our Patreon page.
They read
and we're going to read... wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, we don't have time to read any reviews. We did get a new one, though. It was good.
I believe you.
That's what they said. It was good.
It good. No punctuation, all lowercase.
All lowercase. Speaking of lowercase, Joseph hit him with that outro.
We have outro music?
Yeah, he's blind in one eye.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Bye.
We did it. We learned something. Did you learn something today? In the chat, I want you to put the thing that you are taking away from today. Put one thing in the chat right now that you have learned or that you have realized or that's reinforced something you think. Put that one that I like to call this the golden nugget. Put the golden nugget from today in the chat. And that way, if somebody's missed it or they checked in, go ahead and you guys can copy paste what other people put. If there's some advice, you can screenshot it. Get this. I want you to throw in the best thing you learned today. It's like a best of highlight reel for your favorite thing that happened during this training. Toss that in the chat right now so we can share and grow together. Okay, we're about to do the evaluation. Before we do, I want to remind you, if you want access to this, this entire training at any time throughout the year, not just these live broadcasts, you can join the Tarver Academy Honor Roll. Why'd I do this? Here you go. Tarver Academy Honor Roll. It's like Netflix for teachers. Netflix for teachers, because you have resources, you have templates, you have PDs, trainings. It's literally like a library of trainings, and then access to ask questions, to request resources that I build and send out to teachers all around the world. So tarveracademy.com/honor roll if you want to join the greatest community on the planet. And I'm not biased at all. I mean, all of us, you're on the honor roll. You want to be on the honor roll? Sick. Let's all be on the honor roll. And I'm a dean, so keep me on the dean's list. Hey, that works. Okay. All right. Now it's time for your evaluation. I'd love to get your thoughts on what you thought for this, but also I'm going to send you a certificate saying that you sat through this training. You put in the time. You wanted to learn. You wanted to grow. You wanted to get better. This is going to be a certificate that I'm going to email to you. What I need you to do is I need you to go to the link on the screen, or hover over the QR code with your phone. Get your phone out, hover over it. It's going to ask you a few questions. If you don't get this, it means that you put your email address in wrong. Make sure, please do not rush this. Type your email address in correctly. Please, I'm begging you, because if not, you're gonna email me, I never got my certificate. It's because your email address is wrong. Type in your email address correctly, fill it out, fill out your name, make sure you capitalize, make it look good, because it's gonna fill in to the certificate from this. So I need you to put this in correctly, please. Okay, go there, we're gonna walk you through it. Go into this, click on the link, or you can't click on the link because it's on a video. Type in the link on your computer, or type it in on your phone, or whatever device you have. Scan the QR code, fill it out. I'm gonna send you a certificate with a timestamp on it saying what time you ended. You have proof from earlier if you sent in to the other link of what time you started. And then you also got your notes and all the stuff you've learned, your screenshots, all of that to show your administrator or whoever, your spouse. You show your friends, show people on the streets, all the learning that you did. You can frame that certificate. I think we're all getting framed. You get a frame, I'm getting framed. I'm gonna put it up on my shelf. I got too much stuff on my shelf already. So look at this, Lonzo Ball rookie card. If you got any, by the way, you got any basketball cards you want to sell, hit me up. I've been slightly obsessed with basketball cards, and I apologize for bringing it up. Look at this. This is all Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball, I mean, he's the GOAT. Everybody says it. Who's in the chat? Who is your favorite basketball player of all time? I'd love to know. If it's Lonzo Ball, it's quite the coincidence because I had it sitting on my desk. If not, it's probably this guy. Probably this guy right here. See that guy? That's Michael Jordan. No big deal. It's whatever. Don't like to brag about it. I mean, it's not that expensive, that card. But if you got any cards you want to sell, holler at me. I don't know why I said that. I'm just stalling so you guys can fill out your evaluation. All right. Y'all feel good? I'm gonna leave this on the screen for you for a little while in case you had to step out for a second. I'm gonna leave this up. Thank you again so much for your attention and your time and everything that you put into learning and growing with us today. I'm Tyler. This is Tarver Academy. Let's learn to have fun. See you guys later.